You are now listening to the Chicago Clubhouse Podcast.
My name is DJ Vince Adams. I absolutely appreciate what the Chicago Clubhouse crew is doing for the city of Chicago.
Hey, young world, what's good? It's your boy Bernard Varian, a.k.a. B Twice.
What up? This is Rasheed Davis, former Chicago Bears wide receiver.
Hey, my name is Lemuel Stinson, a.k.a. Lemonhead, formerly of the Chicago Bears.
What's up? My name is C.J. Watson, former Bulls guard and bench farm creator.
This is two-time six-man all-star baller Ricky Deuces Pierce.
What's up, people? This is Chicago radio legend Rick Party, the voice you hear everywhere.
My name is Pee-wee from the movie House Party.
This is Megan Martinez from the Good and Funny podcast.
Hey, this is Bubba Ball from the Shits podcast.
Hey, this is Nika from One Shot Wellness, repping from the ATL, dropping some drips on that Chi-Town Clubhouse podcast.
This is Sherry, and you're rocking with the Chicago Clubhouse Podcast.
You are now rocking with the Chicago Clubhouse Podcast.
You're now rocking with Chicago Clubhouse Podcast.
And you're rocking with the Chicago Clubhouse Podcast.
And you're rocking with the Chicago Clubhouse Podcast.
Where they think they know everything.
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 But they don't know shit.
But they don't know shit.
But they don't know shit. But they really don't know shit.
But they really don't know shit.
But they really don't know shit.
But honestly, they don't know shit.
And I smell something. I smell podcast. The Chicago Clubhouse Podcast Show.
They really don't know shit.
You already know what time it is.
You see this Eddie Jackson jersey right here? Take this.
This dude literally just took my soul.
So I didn't like playing with Brett Favre at all.
You could have waited until the draft if you wanted to look at another quarterback. You didn't have to sign Andy Dalton, who is really nothing but a backup.
Evander Holyfield is 58 years old. What you want to fight a 58-year-old man?
Well, man, he wants to keep fighting.
Because he want to fight him. Okay, it's an exhibition.
But yeah, it's an exhibition because, you know.
This ain't Drago and Apollo Creed, man. Ain't nobody about to.
Man, Martin and Tommy Hearns was an exhibition. You saw what happened to Martin.
This could hurt.
Thanks, Hayden. Nothing but the best.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, bro, tough for real, man.
Yeah, man. He like tougher than some grown folks I know, man.
That as a coach, your job is to give your players the best opportunity to have success.
Michael Jordan, when he came back at LeBron James' age, he was a straight up nothing.
That is blasphemy on his computer right now.
Because I'm gonna tell you something. Without Dennis Rodman, I couldn't see them winning like they did those second three championships. I can't see it.
I agree.
And now I'm the voice of SportsCenter on ESPN. Now on SportsCenter. Tonight, LeBron James. And whatever.
Do you guys really coach how exactly to tackle correctly? Because I see it almost elite now. People cannot tackle like they did whenever you guys played. But do you guys practice tackling at all?
Guess who's back in the MF in house? Yes, it's T Nick. Welcome to the podcast where we think we know everything, but we really don't know shit. But it is a happy day today. It is a happy day because Ryan Pace is gone. Matt Nagy is gone. I hate to see a grown man lose his job when he has a family, but yeah, they've made millions, so they can get the hell out of here. The Bulls are on a hot streak, even though they lost the other day, but they are hot right now. So there's a lot of things to talk about in this pod, but our special guest tonight, oh my God, when you think of quarterback wide receiver connections, I know one of the first ones you're going to think of, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. Well, no, that's not what we're talking about. But it's just as good, though. Erik Kramer and our special guest. Can you guess who? Yeah, well, I'll wait on that. I'll wait on that. First, though, I want to introduce the All-Star team. First up, my man, the stat man who knows every single stat from every single team since the 80s and 90s, basketball and football, JB.
What up, T Nick? What's up, guy?
Not much, man. Just happy to be here, bro.
Welcome back, man. You look well rested and energized. I love to see it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, man.
Yes, sir. Cheers to you, my brother.
Energized. I'm growing out my little beard here. You see that? You see that?
Yeah, you got a little scruff going on. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I can't grow nothing on this side though.
I can't grow a beard, brother. So
yeah, man, it's cold as hell outside, so I'm trying to be warm. I'm trying to stay warm. Hey, but the next part of the All-Star team, X Factor, my dude, AB.
I can't even. Positive?
Yeah, baby, that's how you feeling, man?
Positive? How can we be positive after what our owner, our great chairman said yesterday? My God.
Oh, my
Give me
God,
a break.
man.
Ugh.
Oh, my God.
Garbage across the board, guys. What are we going to do now? We have the same two guys making the decisions, and they added two other people who've never made decisions.
Bill Polian?
Or three, actually. Sorry.
Bill
I
Polian.
forgot about Bill Polian. No, I'm talking about in-house people. We'll get to them. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll get to them.
We'll
And
get to it.
You got that rocking it pretty good. White as snow looking over there.
Oh, my beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's the girlfriend, the fiance, man. She puts all these white hairs on my face, man.
They do that to you, bro. That's what they do.
We have a special addition to the All-Star team tonight. He's been on the pod before. He's definitely a friend of the Chicago Clubhouse podcast. He is the big beat writer for the Bears, Herb Howard.
Coming in now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
What up, y'all?
Hey,
what up, man?
There he is.
What's happening, bro? Man, thanks for having me. Hey,
welcome back.
Good, man. I appreciate y'all for having me back, man. It's a pleasure. How y'all feeling?
Oh, man.
It'll be better.
Good. I'm all good. JB looks sad.
Hey, you know what? Look. Waiting for training camp.
You ready for training camp already?
Look,
we ain't got no coach and no
already.
GM.
I'm ready for 2023 season to start already. So
Damn,
bad,
man. 2023.
Yes.
Shit.
Money, cap space, draft picks, the whole 9 yards. 2023. Let's go. Sorry.
So I was saying our special guest. I was talking about quarterback to wide receiver connections, and I was talking about Erik Kramer 2 ? Which is our guest, and it's just as good as almost as good as Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. So let's bring in our guy, Mr. Curtis Conway.
C-Way.
What's up, fellas?
What's up, man?
What's happening, C-Way?
What's happening?
How you feel, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Feel like I'm back in Chi-Town with all that bear stuff I see. I feel it.
Should be.
I can bring in a little snow and make you really feel like you in Chicago.
Nah, you can keep that.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you know he don't miss that.
I don't miss that at all.
Man, you looking good, C-Way. Man, what's going on?
Hey, man, just trying to stay out the way. You stay out the way, you don't have to worry about too much, you know?
Man, I heard that.
Yeah.
I definitely heard that.
So you out in LA, right?
You know what, man? I just moved to Atlanta about a year ago. I've been flirting with it for a while, man. So just needed a little change. Get out of Cali for a minute. So now I'm in the ATL.
Oh wow, okay. I went to school in the ATL.
Huh?
I went to school in ATL. I went to Morehouse.
Oh, okay. That's what's up.
I love the ATL.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So, man, we're talking about, well, we have mentioned quarterback connections with their wide receivers, and you had one of the best ones. Can you speak on that a little bit?
One of the best QBs?
Man.
One
of the best connections with your QB.
Huh?
You had one of the best connections with your QB.
Yeah, man. That chemistry with Erik Kramer in '95 was ridiculous, man. We had a year in '94 when he got there. Of course, I always say, man, a quarterback receiver relationship, especially in terms of chemistry, is important. So we was able to develop that a little bit in '94. And then, man, once the beginning of '95 started, man, it was off and running. And, thank God we both was able to play every game. So, we were both in the lineup for 16. And so, the fruits of our labor paid off, in '95 for us.
Okay. And which of the, I think I already know the answer, but I want you to go ahead and say anyway, which of the teams that you played with, out of all the franchises that you played with, which was the most fun?
Wow. Man, I would have to say Chicago and San Diego for two totally different reasons. And I can appreciate Chicago. Chicago was, I was young, having a lot of fun out there, especially once I got going. It took me a minute to get going out there, but once I got going, man, just being able to play out there and when you're having a little success in Chicago, man, it's nothing like it. And so at that point, the Bulls was hot at the time too. So we come back in the spring, we going to see Mike and Scotty in the playoffs do their thing. So Chicago was definitely one of my favorite spots. And then, of course, San Diego being close to home, after being gone for 7 years, come back to the West Coast, you got like 30 and 40 tickets, from people who hadn't really been able to see you in person play pro football. It was cool to be able to have the family and friends just drive down the freeway for 8 games a season and be able to watch you play. And, after the game, you hanging out with your family. So, you missed that. And that was cool too. But for the most part, man, both of those spots, like I said, for those different reasons, man, I had a ball.
And the weather, my God. The weather out there, something.
Yeah, I think that added a couple more years onto my career when I was
little sprinkle.
Definitely sprinkle it on.
Hey, that Chicago win off that lake ain't no joke, man. No. It ain't no joke, especially coming from Cali.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this before we get off, because I want to know. I want to dig into a little bit of USC. I like the Trojans. By the way, big time fan. But how was that adjustment your rookie year, coming from basically, warm weather, Pac-10 at the time, not too much cold, to coming here? Was that like a shock to your game at that point in time, or you was kind of already ready for it?
Nah, man, I was probably the most unprepared for football when I got drafted to the Bears, because what people don't remember is I was a quarterback going to USC, and I was only at USC for 3 years. So when the Bears drafted me with the 7th pick, man, I only had 1 full year of experience as a wide receiver. And so, that transition, number one, now I'm learning still how to be a wide receiver, but now I'm going against the best in the world, playing corner, safety, linebacker, just on the defensive side of the ball, and learning how to be a pro wide receiver versus being college is just hard enough. And then you take the weather, I can remember this was probably, I know it was definitely in December, my rookie year. Man, we ran on the football field, and, Soldier Field grass was terrible, man. You go out there, that sucker was rock hard. I'm like, we actually out here trying to play in turf, on turf shoes. Like, just mentally that threw me off. Like, wait a minute, man, we on grass, and this ground is hard like this. So, it took a little adjustment. Everything was definitely new for me. But like I said, over time, man, you get used to it, man. And actually, after my second year, well, after my first year, you know, I didn't have on like 15 pair of sweats and tights and socks going out there to play, man. You know, by that time I got used to the cold weather, man. I was able to go out there with a little bit of nothing on it and try to ball out.
Cool. That's what's up.
Anybody? Bueller?
I'm gonna keep going because
I was gonna let you guys go first. I mean, that's fine.
Go ahead, keep going, JB.
Okay, so yeah, and I wanted to allude to that. I didn't know if you wanted to bring that up, but that transition that you had made, because I know that was still coming like into a time where Black high school quarterbacks were kind of going into the league, into college and getting their position changed still in that early 90s. So I know that kind of messed up your psyche probably a little bit, but then you became like one of the number one receivers. So how was that, just like a chip on your shoulder that you wanted to prove like, well, if I'm going to do it to the best? Or did you just like kind of just accept your role? Because you did kick returns, you did so much.
Yeah, man. Growing up playing Pop Warner in Inglewood, man, my 5 years in Little League, in high school, man, we played everything. We wasn't specialists at wide receiver, quarterback camp, deep. Like we did everything, man. I wanted to play linebacker. If I wasn't a quarterback in high school, man, my coach, I played a little freshman linebacker. I played safety. I played just about every skill position leading up to college. So for me, the transition wasn't mentally. It wasn't going to be hard because I had already done it before, on a lower level. So that transition, and I didn't have a chip on my shoulder. I just knew, after my second year, I played quarterback, and I think I stopped midway through my sophomore year at USC. Mm-hmm. Man, you talk about some of the best quarterbacks, the Jamel Holloways, the Major Harris, the Turner Gills.
Oh, wow.
You start looking at those guys and like, man, they not in the league. I'm like, my game was kind of similar in the sense where I wasn't an option quarterback, but, I was that quarterback, read one, read twice, I'm gone. Like, I ain't trying to get sacked. I'm trying to make something happen. So, that kind of play wasn't really accepted. They wanted you to stay in the pocket, go through all four of your progressions, gun to the full, running back in the flat. And that wasn't my game. And so, in my mind, my last stop wasn't USC. I wanted to go pro. So I figured, the best way for me to do it was to move to wide receiver, especially since I already knew the offense at USC versus going on the defensive side of the ball. So, just because I was I feel like I'm a pretty good athlete, the transition in college was, wasn't hard at all, moving to wide receiver. But no chip at all, man. It was just, I love playing football, and whatever I needed to do to keep playing and, and get to the next level, I was going to do it.
Awesome. Love to hear that.
So you got to play your rookie season. You actually played with Jim Harbaugh. How was he as a teammate? And what can you tell us about him? Because he's a pretty crazy character, in itself. So what was it like playing with him?
You know what? My rookie year, I didn't, it was the league was a little different then. A lot of the veteran guys didn't really hang out with the young guys. So I didn't really spend a lot of time with Jim at all off the field. On the field, of course, he's a quarterback. He's the leader of the football team. Jim was really about his business. You saw him at the facility, saw him at practice, and at the practice, he was gone. So, I didn't really spend a lot of time with him off. Plus, he was a little more mature than me, me being a rookie and all. So not a lot of time, but, his competitiveness on the field, wanting to win by any means, you definitely felt that energy in the huddle in practice and in the games from him, bro.
You're on mute, T. T, you're muted. It happens once a show to one of us. Every time.
So speaking of Jim Harbaugh, Herb, what are you hearing about this dude? Is he on the Bears' radar for a head coach?
Nope.
He should be.
I think he probably should be. I think you certainly hear his name a lot in terms of different writers and reporters. There's a lot of reports talking about Jim Harbaugh coming back and coaching the Bears, and the fact that he would not only be able to come back, but he's probably the most likely person to be able to go get Vic Fangio to come back and coordinate the defense too, with him being fired in Denver. And so it makes a lot of sense. But certainly we haven't heard that from the Bears. Y'all I'm sure y'all heard most of what George McCaskey had to say yesterday. He's not going to talk about any names or any candidates, something like that. So haven't heard that from the Bears, but his name is certainly swirling around as one of the top candidates, not only for the Bears job, but for a lot of these jobs. And every year with these big head coaches, that's going to happen. Their agents going to leak their name out for this job, leak their name out for that job, and it's going to kind of force Michigan to come with the bag to say, okay, please stay. But it's definitely intriguing. When he was in the league, he took San Francisco to the Super Bowl. They were very successful. He had Vic Fangio as his DC. He had a dual threat quarterback out there with Colin Kaepernick when they went to the Super Bowl. And so a lot of similarities for that with Justin Fields. So I think it's definitely intriguing, but I don't know what the Bears are going to do.
So, Seaway, you gave the nod like they should be. Tell us a little bit more about why you feel that way, because around here, we feel a little bit different about Jim Harbaugh coming to town.
Well, it depends. I mean, are you looking at Jim Harbaugh, the quarterback, or the coach?
So I'm not looking at Jim Harbaugh, the quarterback, because I know what that is. That's not even on my video game, brother. Just, we hear stories about him being polarizing. We hear stories about his message getting stale after the first 2, 3, 4 years. And then just the lack of the development of his quarterbacks. Now, granted, he puts a great team together as far as coordinators and, coaches and stuff. But we've just heard some little minor details that he's really not the coach for this particular Bears team, because you got the aging guys that's like, win now or let me go. And then you got somebody so young in Justin Fields that's basically he's going to have his rookie year all over again next year. And we saw how the development of Kaepernick kind of went, but then when you look at the offensive numbers, they're not what you really think. He's actually had a couple of 30th ranked passing for the team in his career in his short 4 years. So what do you think about that part?
No, that's a great point, JB, man, and you're absolutely right in that sense. But the way I see it is a coach's job is to win games and not always developing players. And I know in Chicago's situation right now, you got young Justin, so he definitely needs somebody there, whether it be an offensive coordinator. It may not be Jim as the head coach. It could be an offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and Jim can stay out the way. When you look at his track record, man, you can go all the way back to University of San Diego.
Yes.
I mean, everywhere he's went, he's turned the program around and made it a championship caliber team everywhere, from San Diego to Stanford to 49ers, now Michigan. So his track record as a coach is proven within itself. So, maybe he's not the guy to coach Justin. There's plenty of quarterback guys out there and offensive coordinators that he can probably tap into to help him out with Justin. But as a head coach, man, his track record, man, you can't deny his track record.
Right. Definitely speaks for himself. And I want to say, was that the Super Bowl year for the Raiders? He was the quarterback coach?
With Rich Gannon?
I want to say around that time, he was the QB coach before he took the Stanford job, I believe. So he's definitely been around.
Yeah,
I know he's a football mind. Definitely.
Yeah. And see, here's the thing too. Jim is old school. So Jim is a run the football, play defense. That's Chicago. We saw what happened when we tried to be the passing team of the league a couple years ago when I'm still getting over this, trying to get over the Lovie Smith fire at 10-6.
Don't say his name. Does it start with a Mark?
Hey, when 10-6 and you get fired, but that's kind of been the identity of Chicago Bear football, is run the football. And I know we're in a new wave of football, but running the football and playing good defense still wins championships in the National Football League. And I feel like that's something that Jim, everywhere he's been, that's how he's actually won. With that being said, you take a lot of pressure off of Justin and let him develop, because we still see the Justin from Ohio State. We're not in the film room. We're not in the classroom with Justin to see how fast and how much he's really picking up. And no head coach or offensive coordinator is going to put a player on blast and say, well, he's just not picking up everything we need him to do right now. So the playbook, instead of we going into a game like this, we're going in like that. We don't know that. Nobody knows the real, true answer to why, the development of Justin didn't go as probably most people like. And nobody would ever know that until maybe he retires or he comes and says it publicly, because that's not something we talk about publicly, in the media. So, being able to play that kind of football, running the football, playing good defense, you take a lot of pressure off the quarterback. When you run the football, you get a lot of one-on-one coverages, which means, when Justin drops back, he doesn't have to read the whole field. He can pick a matchup in these coverages that you'll be playing versus the run. And that's so much easier on a young quarterback when he doesn't have to drop back and he has 8 to 9 people drop back in zone and he's trying to figure it out versus, an 8-man front trying to stop the run. And technically, when you play 8-man front, either you're playing man-to-man, you're playing some kind of one single high, and you just got more bigger windows downfield to see. Not to mention the fact that he did have Cap, and he will help him use his legs until his his progression as a drop back pocket quarterback gets better. So, it's a lot of good things that I think Jim could bring to the table for him.
Yeah. Well, you were right, JB. He was actually the quarterback coach in 02 and 03 under Bill Callahan.
I couldn't think of the coach name. Bill Callahan.
So you were right there. And also, just so you guys know, there was a report out today from Chris Ballas. He's a longtime beat writer from Michigan, and he said that Jim Harbaugh will be back with the Wolverines under a nice new contract. He's basically going to ask for more money for his whole coaching staff, more leverage, basically. I think he's using this as a ploy just to get more of what he wants out of Michigan. That's just my view on it.
It makes sense. You see these coaches do it all the time. It makes sense. It's good business. You know what I mean? You kind of leverage the fact that other places want you, other teams want you, and you let it kind of sit around for a while. And I might leave, and then your current job says, all right, please stay. We'll give you a little bit more money. And so it's a good business move for Jim and his staff.
Yeah. Right. We had someone in the chat said that you used to go to his brother's clothing store on Oak Street, Stewart, Chicago. He really enjoyed talking to you, Kurt.
Oh, that's what's up, man. All good.
So, wait, let me ask you this. Coming from the mind of a wide receiver, which is you, what the hell is going on through Allen Robinson's head right now? Because, I mean, he was not involved in the game plan very much this season. So it doesn't look good for him getting that money that he wanted. What is going on through his head right now? Is he going to take less money?
You know what? It all depends. I don't really know Allen like that. So, but I will say, most guys really they want the payday as much as winning. Believe it or not. Not being involved in the game plan as a wide receiver, man, that's miserable. You talking being out there 70 plays and not getting the rock, practicing all week, running, because that's all we do is run all day, every day. Mm-hmm. And you might get a couple balls thrown your way. Like at some point, mentally you have to stay checked in because at any given time the ball can come. But man, it gets frustrating. They call us divas because we want the ball, but I'm like, you try being out there for 70 plays, running around, and then a Thursday practice, that's all passing. So you might catch 20 balls in practice on Thursday, then all of a sudden Sunday comes and the ball not coming your way. So it can be frustrating, man. And then, not to mention, who's going to play quarterback, and we all have our favorites. We all know, what the playbook is going to look like if this quarterback is playing versus this quarterback. We know this quarterback versus that quarterback. So, it probably was a lot of stuff going through his head. Who's going to start? This guy really ain't ready. This guy may be ready. So I can speak for myself if I'm in his shoes. Like all that's going through my head.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think he handled it really, really well, though. Like, I mean, obviously, he's in another contract year. They franchise tagged him for the second year in a row. He did not want that to happen. They did it anyway. And then in the middle of that year, all your production falls off the table. You got a rookie quarterback. They're trying to develop him, trying to get him going. You got a veteran quarterback in Andy Dalton, who's probably more suited for Allen Robinson's game. Allen Robinson is not a deep threat, big play receiver. He's an intermediate guy. He's going to eat up that 12 to 20-yard range. That's where he wants to live. That's where he can dominate the football game. And that's where Andy Dalton wants to live too. And so I think they would have been kind of better for each other there. But when you got 3 different quarterbacks playing throughout the season, you got a lot of different changes on the offensive line. And then you got Matt Nagy, who is kind of stubbornly trying to stick to how he wants to play football. And I think that there's a lot of ways to win a football game. And as a coach, as a play caller, you got to be willing to adjust and willing to do whatever this particular roster needs. This year's roster ain't last year's roster. It could change. It could change from week to week, really. And I think you got to be adaptable as a coach and play caller to be able to say, okay, what do we need to do to win this week? This week we might need to run it 40 times. Next week, you might need to throw it 40 times. It just depends. But Allen Robinson, he stayed professional throughout the whole time. He never threw the quarterbacks under the bus, never threw the play callers under the bus. He showed up every time he was healthy. And he it's watching it from the outside in, you could never really see the frustration on him, but he had to be dealing with it because not only are you talking about professional pride, but you're talking about his pockets in a real way. Like, he's going to have to probably sign one of those 1-year prove-it deals. Otherwise, somebody's going to get him cheap for the next 3 or 4 years. I'm sure he don't want to sign a cheap 3 or 4 year deal. So he's probably going to say, okay, I'll gamble on myself for 1 more year, wherever that is. Then I'll try to get it 1 more big deal, but definitely in a bad position for him. But he handled it well. I got to give him credit for that.
I don't think his agent did.
Quarterback situation, y'all know.
Yeah. His agent was all over Twitter saying 16 more games, 5 more games and whatnot. I think his agent kind of spoke for him, which is what they're supposed to do, right, Herb?
Yeah,
I mean, but that's not the way to really go about things.
But I want to go back to what you said, Herb, about adjustments, though. And Curtis, I'm sorry, I keep calling you Curtis. My bad.
It don't matter. It don't matter.
But we literally are talking to a man who went from an adjustment of the Bears just running the ball 30, 40 times to now he's in this open West Coast, throw it down the field offense, air raid style offense. So, I mean, the adjustment period has to be had because that season, I want to say you're 95, which, by the way, we talked to Erik Kramer. Both of you all should have been Pro Bowlers. I can't stand the media that votes. Screw them.
I appreciate it.
12 touchdowns and a buck, But we had almost a 4,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard receiver, and a 1,000-yard running back. Like, if you don't see adjustment and balance in that, I don't know what he's looking at, because that's the epitome of running Bears football, opening up the offense and playing good defense.
No one knew what he was looking at. No one knew.
You know what? Like Herb was saying, man, you have to adjust to your team. I mean, look what Baltimore did over there, for Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And what generally happens in the NFL, and I feel bad for some of these quarterbacks. If you don't get a good teacher at quarterback, you're gonna look like a bust, because it's more than even just the style of offense. Just the quarterback mentally has to know so much. These guys that's having success early, man, you got to tip your hat off to them, because I've been in the room. I mean, you can go back to Jim Harbaugh. Every single year with the Bears, I had a different quarterback, and in any given season, I might have played with 3 different ones. And all of them mentally had a different approach. The reason why Erik was so successful, Erik was a vet. So he was the type of guy that if Ron Turner called a bad play or he thought a play wasn't going to work, Ron trusted him enough, because he was a vet, and he had the confidence, because he was a vet, to get out of that play and put us in the right play where, I would play with a Cade McNown, who was a young guy, and you could clearly see it's an 8-man front. Everybody's coming. You pointing at the guys to blitz and still run the ball right into the blitz, because for whatever reason, you don't want to, check out and, make the coach mad. So there's all kind of little things that go into a young quarterback, especially in play caller situation. But Herb, I agree with you, man. Like, to me, a coach is somebody that takes his team and you adjust what you do defensively and offensively according to what you have, because anybody can come with a playbook. Now, really, just the players. Now you're saying, okay, it's you? No, if you're just coming with a playbook, and this is how it was back in my day for the most part, is, this guy doesn't fit our system, get rid of him. And then it looks like he can't play. When technically, he may not fit your system, but he can still, tote the rock or catch the rock or throw the rock. He's just not ready for your package. And man, I'm going to tell you guys, you ever get a chance to look at an offensive playbook and look at all the terminology and the wording just that alone, young guys are gonna fumble in the huddle, especially in the heat of the action. Not to mention, you got to know what everybody on the offense is doing. You got to have a second play just in case you got to get out of it, and you got to know what the defense is doing pre-snap. Not to mention
post-snap.
That's pre-snap, because 90% of the defenses you see pre-snap, you're not gonna see it post-snap. That means everything changes. Your first read might be your third read now. Your second read may be your first read now. All this is going through a young quarterback's head. So not only physically the adjustment for a quarterback, but mentally, man, bigger than anything, a coach has to make sure that a young quarterback is really, really comfortable. And that's why I always say you just never really know, because for all we know, Matt, he probably wanted to call some plays that, quite frankly, in the situation he couldn't, because maybe Justin wasn't ready for that at the time, because we will practice plays during the week. And trust me, if those plays are not going well, they're thrown out. And I said this early when Justin got drafted on NFL Network. I will not play Justin Fields because one of the quarterbacks are not playing well. I would only play him if he's ready, because I think that's the big mistake. He's a first-round draft pick. Fans are, they want to see him play. You get this pressure from all the outside sources, and then these coaches fold and end up putting a guy out there that's not ready. And let me just tell you something. As a football team, because we continue to focus on the quarterback, play him. Oh, look at him run, look at him do this. You got 53 or more other players on that roster that's going into the game. You don't know if they saying this guy don't give us the best chance to win. And I'm a linebacker. I'm going out here busting my butt. And maybe Andy gives me the best chance to win, but you want to start this guy? Psychologically, that messes with players too. But you will never hear that in the media, because what player is going to say, man, you know what?
That's on the
ready going into the game with him when this guy is the guy should be starting. Trust me, I've been in those situations. So there's so many things that you don't know, that you will never know, just because it's a code in the locker room that you don't tell. But it's a lot of little things that really go into game planning that gives you a chance to win or lose a football game.
See, don't they got to be on the head coach too, though? I mean, that's what he's for. It's 32 of those jobs in the whole entire world. Once you get that job, you got to be willing to stand on your own decisions and have conviction about what you talk about. That's all. We heard that so much from Matt Nagy. Conviction. So now if you didn't have this conviction that you want to go with Andy Dalton, that's what you said all offseason. Andy Dalton is a starter. Justin's going to be the backup. But then if that's what you want to do, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but if that is your plan as the head coach, then you stick to it. You don't let that outside noise influence you to put the young kid in the game.
Say, bro, when you're sitting in these chairs, man.
It is. Another thing on that,
because trust me, I've been in these rooms and I've been around coaches, and I'm not going to put no names out there, but I've been in situations where you got strong coaches, but, man, a lot of this stuff can be coming from upstairs. Like I said, it's a lot of things that you just don't like. If Andy's not playing well, you get pressure from somebody that's probably not in these meeting rooms, has no clue how much a young quarterback knows, and saying, you got to play this guy. I've literally been in rooms where a coach.
And we heard George McCaskey kind of expose that yesterday. Yes. George McCaskey exposed that yesterday. George McCaskey said that at some point, Matt Nagy came to him and asked him about whether or not Justin should be starting or Andy. And George's like, I'm uncomfortable that you even asking me that. You the coach. That's your decision. Make the decision, right? But I think that we also saw it play out in training camp. I was in training camp every single day. He did not prepare Justin to take the field in the regular season. Justin Fields got very, very few reps with the number ones. Not the number one offensive line, not the number one receivers, tight ends, none of that. He was not prepared. So if you had any inkling that you was going to put him in the game week 3, week 4, then you should have been at least getting him 50-50 reps, 60-40 reps. It wasn't even close. It might have been 90-10 in terms of him getting reps with the first team. So if you're not going to prepare him, then you got to stick with your guns and say, okay, we're riding with Andy Dalton. Now, is his ceiling higher than Andy Dalton's? Absolutely. But right now, Andy Dalton can probably get you 20 points a game, and then you lean on your defense in the running game, and that could probably get you more than 5 or 6 wins. So, I mean, again, I'm not saying what was right or wrong and whether we should have played Justin or not. I'm saying if he had decided that Andy Dalton was going to be the guy, he should have stuck with that.
No, I agree with you. I think that anybody in any situation, you got to stand to your guns and you got to live and die by what you believe. But again, man, that's easier said than done because, like I said, I've been in situations where, the person that's writing your check went and told the coach, man, we drafted this guy in the first round. This guy got to play. because you got to remember, this is a business. So if a guy that you drafted with the number 1 pick is sitting on the bench and things are not going well, it ain't got nothing to do with the football game now. This is business. We drafted this guy.
We got to get Ryan Leaf in the game.
We got to put this guy out here. And again, like I said, it's a lot of things that we could talk about, and it all makes sense on the outside. But then on the inside, man, when you got your boss putting pressure on you, saying this, that, and the other, or you may feel the pressure from certain people saying, "Why isn't this guy ready? Why aren't you preparing?" We don't know what Matt was doing with Justin in those meeting rooms. Again, like I said, I've been in meetings where young guys come in and they just can't pick it up no matter how much time you spend. So you can't afford to put a guy out there and get physical reps because you still got other guys on that team saying, this guy is not ready and he's taking all the reps with the ones. We're trying to get ready for a season, or we're trying to get ready for a game. This is not about trying to get one player ready for a game. Because you still got to have accountability to the rest of the team as a head coach. So you have that pressure of saying, we drafted Justin, but man, I'm in this meeting room with him and we got these 15 plays that he's just not really mentally picking up. And so once practice starts, I can't just force him out there with the ones because that's just physical practice. It starts in the classroom mentally. And I was told this my rookie year, Curtis, I don't care how many guys you run by in one-on-one. If you don't know what you're doing out on that field, you will never see the football field. So again, we can always look at the physical and the reps that a guy's taking in practice, but his reps start in the classroom. And I don't care how you sit there and hold somebody hand in the classroom. Guess what? If he's not picking it up, it's just not picking it up. And there's nothing you can do about it because come game day, the rest of those guys on that team are looking at you at the head coach and saying, especially on the offensive side of the ball, and saying, you going to play this guy and you know he's not ready because we drafted him in the first round, or are we going to play the guy that gives us a better chance to win? And at some point, we call them the soups upstairs. When that business side kick in, you can try to stick to your guns all you want to. When they say something, man, you got it. More likely a head coach gonna move, especially if you don't have the respect or you don't have the credibility yet.
Right. So you touched on the physical aspect. We know the mental, but let me take you back. You mentioned that you played for 3 different quarterbacks in one season before, and I believe that was 96. So
man, you God dog, you
He's
own
good.
it.
JB man.
He owns it, man.
Best, man.
That's just what I do. But so
that man,
as a receiver coming through, different quarterbacks physically throw you a different ball, right? So Dave Craig, you had throws a ball maybe similar to Kramer, but we know Walsh doesn't. So addressing that, like how physically does that take a toll on you guys? Because now you know the ball is not coming out maybe 2 steps out of my break. Maybe I have to wait and adjust because now not only am I looking at, does Justin have a stronger arm than Dalton? Maybe. But now how much pressure does that put on you? Because really your only time with him is game time. If you only practice at 90% with one guy and the rookie's only getting 10%, when the rook get in the game, you really don't know how he's throwing, his trajectory, his arm angle. So like speak to that physical bit a little bit because it's not as easy as just go get open.
Well, as a receiver, you have to do your job. And so, but man, you hit the nail on the head, like trying to adjust. I remember playing in Chicago where we had a route that was an 18-yard comeback. Ooh. You on the wide side of the field, Erik Kramer can get that ball out there. I played with some quarterbacks that couldn't get it out there, and guess what we end up doing? We end up having to shorten the route to 15 yards and coming back. Same route call, but different. So you do have to make adjustments based on the quarterback throwing you the ball. But just because you have a stronger arm doesn't necessarily mean your accuracy going to be there, your timing is going to be there. You reading the defense and getting the ball out on time. Because the one thing that the biggest transition, what people don't understand about college football, and I'm about to get a little technical, might be a little boring, but these are facts, is that in college, you can almost hold the ball and wait till somebody get open. in the pros, you got to anticipate that whoever you're throwing the ball to, that guy is going to be at that spot in a zone coverage. You can't wait for him to come out the break. You can't wait to see what the DB is. He playing like no? If you read a certain coverage, that ball is out when you hit that fifth, seventh step or whatever, and you just better pray that you guys are on the same page. And so again, that goes back to that every man has to do their job. So. Again, that's why I said the quarterback position is very, very, very complicated once you get in one of those rooms and on the field to really be able to understand, everything that goes into playing that position. And then as a wide receiver, when you're in the room with these guys and on the practice field, like, man, if they call a post, man, that ball and by the time I get to 15 yards, that ball might be out of his hand versus a guy with a strong arm. You might be able to close the cushion a little more, get on top because he can get it out there a little further. So again, man, it's not as easy as me sitting back as a fan watching TV. It's hard for me to even enjoy a game now because I kind of get into the locker room, I get into the play call, and I get into maybe Justin is just not. Does he know as much as Andy? I would doubt it.
No.
So again, now you got the play caller. Can he open up the playbook on? Instead of going to a game on 3rd and 7, and you got 8 plays you can call. With Justin, you might only have 3 because he's just not picking up everything, and you don't want to put that pressure on him to have to make these kind of decisions. So again, man, it's a crazy situation, man. And, for anybody to try to really pinpoint what really is going on that's not in these meeting rooms, from a guy that's been in these rooms and played with 18 different quarterbacks in a 12 year, you know what I'm saying? From the Drew Breeses to the Erik Kramers all the way down to third-string quarterbacks, I done had them all. There's a whole different dynamic that go into everything from a receiver, a play caller, and even the way a line has to protect.
I think a good example of that was the Cleveland game. I mean, I think we can all really agree on that they came out that game with a game plan that wasn't for a Justin Fields. It was for an Andy Dalton or a Nick Foles. So I kind of go back to what Herb's saying here with why didn't they just put him at the number 3 the entire season? Let Nick Foles back him up, and then maybe you can have this entire offense grow this year instead of taking another step back and your rookie quarterback not really gaining any traction this year. Seaway, it's just like for me, and I think the other guys feel this way too.
Easy.
Yeah,
it's easy business.
So then why does Matt Nagy come out at the end of the year and say that his plan the entire time was to sit Justin Fields? Why doesn't he just say that from the get-go and have a Nick Foles second? Why does he make him number 2? That's the thing that since I've heard him say it, I've been wrapping my head around, and I can't understand.
Man, you can go back to a lot of first-round draft picks that play quarterback that shouldn't have been on the field. It's business, man, and fans don't want to hear it. Media don't want to hear it, bro, but I'm telling you what I know.
Yeah.
There's a side of this game that most people don't really understand, and when you're on the team, you got to remember one thing. As a head coach, how many times have you heard a player say, man, that was a terrible game plan in a press conference after the game?
We heard Nick Foles say it about that Cleveland game specifically, actually.
Yeah, he kind of went in, but not to that degree.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
few.
It's not very few.
No. The point I'm trying to get to is, trust me, we're on the sideline. We're looking at pictures. There's a lot of things that just don't go said by a coach, or, players and coaches are trying to be politically correct. You don't want to say too much. You get in trouble. Like I said, there's so many little things that, people don't really understand. Trust me. It's been plenty of games I went into and like, we really going in with this game plan, or we really calling this play on 3rd and 7 when we done worked on this all, and you gonna call this. But then, you drop a ball and it's like everybody can see, damn, if he would have caught that ball, maybe they would have scored. But I can't say on 3rd and 7 they were playing this and we could have ran this and killed them all day. And the coach looked bad. And the coach is not going to make a player, especially a young rookie quarterback, he's not going to put all kind of negative energy out there on that quarterback. That's the worst thing you can do as a head coach to a young quarterback. So, you know, again, I always felt from day one when I was asked right after the draft, I said, you know, watching him at Ohio State, you know, is he going to come in there and give the Bears the best chance to win early? Absolutely not. And I was the first one to say, I don't care how bad these two veterans play. Don't put this guy out there unless he's ready to go out there. And that's just really not a reality. And I've talked, you know, doing the draft stuff, I've talked to GMs and, you know, you got personal friends that really give you the real insight. Bro, at the end of the day, that's where the business is in the game. And of course, we want to understand it as fans because we, you know, a lot of us, you know, you guys are very smart. You know, it's not like back in the day. You could everybody can see what should be done, but you know, again, we don't really know what's going on inside that building and why things are being said and things are being done. And that's the thing that I think sometimes we just need to kind of fall back on because trust me, there's a lot. I always say it's a lot going on behind that curtain. That trust me, if you knew, you might scratch your head and say, "Okay, I get it." Other than that, on the outside looking in, you're never going to truly understand a lot of things.
And we don't understand because now you spark interest in my head now because I'm looking back at some of the number ones. Look how great a RG3 was as a rookie, but then look how bad a Jamarcus Russell was. Look at Peyton Manning throwing 28 interceptions his rookie year, and then look at Ryan Leaf looked like he never knew how to play football again. So, like, you know, even this year, like Joe Burrow was pretty solid last year. Justin Herbert was off the chain. Trevor Lawrence was kind of trash this year. So it's like, where do we draw that line mindset-wise? Mm-hmm. Is it depending on who you got around you? Is it depending on your coaching staff? Because now if you just plug and play a guy because he's a first-round rookie quarterback, it doesn't always equate to success.
I think it's about adjustments.
I mean, you can go into this year. What number did Justin go in the draft?
11.
Where did Mac Jones go?
15.
Yeah, so
we can sit here as fans and say, man, why didn't the Bears pick Mac Jones instead of Justin Fields? Look at the kind of season he's had in New England. But guess what? Look who's over there as his coach.
Right.
Exactly.
That all equates to the personnel, the scheme planning, all
everything,
that stuff goes
bro.
into
Right. Cam Newton didn't fit what the New England Patriots was doing. I said that from the very beginning that Cam didn't fit. You got to remember, these guys won Super Bowls a certain way, so they know how to win. They needed a guy that was going to fit the way they won. So you try to, if we would have sat there last year before the draft and said, Mac Jones will give the Patriots a better chance to win than Cam Newton, I don't know too many people that would have made that bet. But as we see, based on what they do and the coaching style of Josh McDaniels, who fits the bill? And that's kind of what this whole NFL quarterback thing is are you going to get with the right guy that can develop you? Do you fit what we do versus I have to change my whole playbook because Josh couldn't call the same plays for Cam Newton that he called for Tom Brady. Now,
that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make with this. The whole way, Seaway, is that if you have an inkling at all from the beginning of the year to play Justin Fields, if you feel like you're going to be pressured or any of that, you make plays for him in the beginning of the season and don't wait until, week 3, week 4 and throw him in 5-step drops all game against the Cleveland Browns team who was hungry for him. Like they were after him all day, 9 sacks that game. And it never really changed. The only time Justin really made plays was when he was improvising. He wasn't having that many really designed runs, throws for him. It was an Andy Dalton offense. So why do that instead of putting a Nick Foles in? That's basically what I'm asking. And then at the end of the season, have the owner come out and say that Matt Nagy asked him about it. So Matt Nagy knew that he wasn't getting heat from upstairs. So he didn't have to play Justin. It was us, the outside. The outside said this.
Just because now you saying the owner said this.
Well, the owner could be lying too. Yeah,
I ain't saying he ain't lying, but the owner gonna say whatever he want to say. Nagy ain't gonna say whatever he want to say.
Yeah, nobody gonna touch the owner.
Yeah,
thing is, though, see where he got fired anyway. He came into the season knowing that you was on the hot seat. You know you have.
He knew he was going to get fired.
I'm going out. I'm going out because of what I wanted to do. Like, I ain't going out because what
exactly.
You're going to fire me based on what I wanted to do. And what he wanted to do, what he said from the spring was Andy Dalton is number one. What he did all summer long was put Andy Dalton number one. Even in the preseason, you was not ready. He showed flashes of all the physical brilliance. We know what he can do with his legs. He has an arm that can make all the throws. I still think he's going to be a phenomenal player in this league. I really do. But it was apparent mentally that he just couldn't do it. He couldn't recognize a blitz in his face in the preseason against Buffalo, and he almost got his self-kill. You know what I mean? And so it's like it's real simple things like that. Like, you got to pick up that outside linebacker blitzing. You're going to get yourself killed. And so if you know that early, then you do one of two things. Sit him down, go with the veteran guys. Obviously, again, their ceiling is not as high, but they can give you a chance to win right now, right? Or if you're going to go with a young, more athletic guy, fine. Tailor the offense to him. Run some more read option. They didn't run read option at all. You know what I'm saying? We talk about RG3 and the success he had. They ran a lot of read option. They had bets in the back. They was run the ball. Like, do things that is going to help him be successful. Lamar Jackson couldn't throw the ball.
You got to remember, too, with RG3, who was his coach? Shanahan.
Yeah.
So what was Shanahan? Shanahan was a quarterback guy. You know what I mean? He understood. And see, what a lot of people don't really understand, Alfred Morris, who was, I think, 6th round draft pick for the Washington Redskins, the same rookie year, rushed for 1,600 yards.
Yeah.
So RG3, as much as we talk about what he did, Mike Shanahan, in my opinion, took a lot of pressure off of RG3. You got a 1,600-yard, 6th-round rookie running back. Man,
that's what I'm saying.
Look, I'm not going to put RG3 in this situation. And the only reason we fell in love with RG3 is because he ran for, I think, 800 yards that year as a rookie. And it was like, that's what we marveled over. But what ended up happening with him, and, you know, with no disrespect, it ended up catching up to him in the long run, and he couldn't become the pocket quarterback that he has. So, again, that quarterback situation is very touchy. I agree with both of you guys with trying to tailor the offense around Justin Fields. But at the same time, bro, at the end of the day, if you got a playbook and you got a guy that you got to remember another thing too. I don't know how much most coaches don't, the general manager choose what quarterback they give you. You as a coach have to develop them. How many times you go out to a basketball game, and if you got a choice to pick somebody that fits your system, you're going to pick a guy that fits your system, not probably the best guy that's ranked on the board. So Nagy, once he got Justin, nobody knows what a guy is going to be. They needed a quarterback. They got him. All of a sudden, he can't pick up my offense as a head coach or as an offensive coordinator. Now you're trying to tell a coach to take a playbook like this and change just about everything about it to fit a guy just because he was a 1st-round draft pick. Trust me, like I said, I've had a ton of playbooks. That's asking a lot, because now what you do is you limit play calling because of what a guy can do. You could throw him in for packages here and there. Does that really work? In my opinion, no. So I agree with you guys. I wouldn't have put him out there in the first place. I would have stuck with Andy and just rolled that out. But again, when you draft a quarterback, and this is just the business part that nobody really wants to tackle, whether a head coach like it or not, if you're not being successful on the field, 1 or 2 games, if your quarterback doesn't play bad, you drafted a quarterback with that first pick,
that noise get loud.
Feel some pressure from upstairs to put him out there, whether he's ready or not.
Yeah,
and that's just reality.
That's real.
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think after all this talk, it really just comes down to the fact that you said Shanahan, right? Great quarterback coach. Our front office, our GM, our ownership thought that Matt Nagy was the same kind of guru, and he wasn't. This all equates to upstairs. At the end of the day, their ability to evaluate talent has not been up to par for years. That's really all that. At the end of the day, that's all this comes down to.
That's exactly what I wanted to touch on.
Yes. Wrong.
Hell yes.
Even with that, he tried to fit Trubisky to run his offense, and you saw how that looked.
Yeah,
exactly. But I have to go back to his days in KC of when Alex Smith, who was more probably the quarterback that he likes, had his career year. in Nagy's last year there. But when you had Patrick Mahomes, they didn't know Patrick Mahomes was going to come his second year and throw 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. Just like, you don't know what Justin really is going to be. But you knew that if Mitch and Justin were kind of similar in style, that this playbook wasn't going to work, right?
Yes.
But so I have to say he had a whole year and change to kind of, and maybe it's like a tiger not changing his stripes. He is who he is. But
hey, did the New England Patriots they knew what they were getting to Cam Newton? Did they change their playbook?
I mean, it looked like it because he did a lot of running.
Tried.
I think they did.
They tried.
Oh, they tried, but it didn't work.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
90% of the time, it's not easy to change the way you do things. Like you said, it's hard for an offensive coordinator to come in there and all of a sudden he goes from a spread offense. Now all of a sudden he has to run, a read option offense. Like that's not his mentality. That's not his mindset. Not to mention, how do you call plays on something that you've never really done? So always, and I'm not sure how this went or when it was said, but I remember someone said or heard, I think it was Bill Parcells saying, if you want me to cook the food, at least let me buy the groceries. Well, that's kind of a situation on some organizations with getting players. Like maybe Nagy would have picked a Mac Jones over a Justin because of something he saw that will fit what he, would have success at. We don't know that at the end of the day. So again, a lot of business stuff goes in because I know as a coach, if I'm trying to run a football team and I'm looking at I'm evaluating this talent and I'm like, man, I want this guy, but then the GM or somebody else go and draft this guy and say, here, work with him. Man, that's what you stuck with. And that's why I said there's a lot of things that we're not privy to be in these rooms to hear these real conversations. Because it could be something as simple as, yeah, I know you like this guy, Matt, but I like Justin. Justin's ranked higher on our board. Everybody got Justin ranked higher on our board. You got to remember one thing. These general managers and these scouts, if they choose somebody that most people are saying that's not good as a guy and it doesn't pan out, guess how they look? They look bad. So 90% of the time, they're going to go with the highest ranked guy because Justin was a safer pick than Mac Jones. So again, you're in these rooms and there's a lot of conversation going on and we don't really understand. Like I said, Bill Parcells said it the clearest. Basically, if I'm going to coach this team, I should be able to go out and pick whoever I need to fit what I want to do. Because if you give me a guy that doesn't fit what I'm doing now, you're telling me to take this playbook and shrink it down, change this within a matter of 2 months to go out there and put a playoff team together. So as easy as it sounds, it's just not that easy.
Oh no, it doesn't sound there.
No, but you look at a guy like John Harbaugh who could do it like this on a dime. He switches from Joe Flacco over. It has a whole package set up for Lamar Jackson. That's really what we're all getting at here is that why can't Matt Nagy do the same thing?
You're talking about two different kinds of coaches, man.
Are we? Really?
Yes. Yes, we are.
So an offensive guru who's supposed to be able to do these things.
Okay, forget offensive guru. He's not.
That's what he's supposed to be here, right? That's exactly what his job is. So last year, whenever you had square peg round hole with a Mitch Trubisky, your season failed. Why didn't you get rid of them then? You gave them another year and put another square peg with a round hole, and you had the same result.
Because it's the Bears.
Is that Matt's fault? Is that the head coach's fault?
At that point in time, no, it's not because he can only do what the GM gave him.
You keep giving him these ingredients.
So he could have instead said, just like we said in the beginning, Justin Fields, you are a square peg. You're not fitting in my round hole. You are the third string quarterback all year long. From day one, come out, say that. Do not change your mind. Tell everyone, have conviction, just like Herb said, have conviction in your choices and stick with them, no matter what anyone says. Don't go to the owner and go, is it okay? Is it okay? Have conviction. And
Go
they
back.
never
You
did.
got to go back to what Seaway was saying. It's a business aspect in all of this.
It is, but whenever they come out and literally he says that he was uncomfortable with Matt Nagy coming to him asking that, I believe he did do that. I believe he
believe it
went to
too.
him. I
I mean,
100% do.
Can't you see him doing that? Like it's
Absolutely,
he's
because
not
he
a guy that
always
seems
second
sure of
guesses
himself.
himself.
He's not a guy that seems sure of himself in the first place. So when it
He
comes
went
to
home at night, man, and watched TV. You could see him. Herb, you were at the press conferences. He looked like death half the time. He looked like he ain't slept in days, man, because he was constantly worrying about this instead of having conviction in his football team and what he believes. And that's why he's not here anymore.
Well, here's the thing, man, and this is just a fact, and we could say what kind of conviction, whether he, had conviction or not. Or the bottom line is, bro, you draft a quarterback with the top from 1 to 15, and you're not playing well. You best believe whether you want to play a guy or not, somebody is coming in your ear saying, we need to play this guy. We drafted him. Let's see what he can do. It ain't see, we as fans, we always think wins and losses. I'm not saying organizations don't want to win, but at the same time, you just don't put a guy out there in a game and say, okay, you know what? This don't look too good. Let's see what he can do. Like as a wide receiver at practice, I'm not trying to say, well, let's put him in here just to see what he can do. Like we see what he can do. We're in the meetings rooms with him. And again, like I said, this is not just Matt. I guarantee you, if you ask a bunch of coaches that didn't have the credentials of a Bill Belichick, has someone approached them about playing a first-round draft pick that's not out there, you best believe, I guarantee you, 90% of them are going to say, yeah, I got approached about playing a guy that just wasn't ready to play, but we had to play him. That's not something you're going to hear a head coach say in the media, but that happens all the time. The kid with the Jets, he wasn't ready either.
Oh, no.
Zach
Wilson.
Yeah.
But so, again, like I said, let's take Cam Newton. And Cam, I love me some Cam Newton, but Cam Newton didn't fit the New England Patriots style of offense. Based on what I felt like maybe, in this next year, because Cam didn't have enough time to learn that offense, just like Justin Fields and a lot of young quarterbacks, give him a year or two in that offense, he'll be fine. Yeah. But they saw different. So again, this is not just with young quarterbacks, and this is with a lot of different guys who have to come in, because I'm telling you guys, I always say this, I wish fans could sit in an offensive meeting room with an offensive coordinator and a quarterback and just see all the mental stuff. Because what we see is, oh my God, he can throw. Oh my God, he got an arm. Oh my God, he can run. Yeah. We don't see is can he really, process all this information on the board and then get out there, and now you got a pass rush coming at you and try to go through that. Bro, I'm telling you, for the Joe Burrows of the world and all these young guys that going out there doing what they're doing, bro, I'm telling you, these are special guys. This does
100%. Even when you see that athleticism kind of take over, like when you see them kind of improvise and make those big plays that seem to come out of nothing, even a lot of those plays are plays that were much, much simpler. You should have just made the read and made the throw. Like, okay, it's cool. It turned out you made this spectacular run, but the 15-yard throw was right there. The 9-yard throw was right there, and you should have made that in the first place. So I get you 100% in terms of having to learn a whole new language, learn how to call it in the huddle, learn how to read pre-snap, understand the adjustments post-snap, make those read, make those throws. I get it. All I'm saying is, if you don't think he's ready to do that, and clearly you did not think he was, let his ass sit down. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree.
Answer the same question every single week until it's blue in your face.
But I got to put more onus on the coaches, guys, because Seaway, we going back to your rookie year. Dave Wanstead, right? Jim Harbaugh, you mentioned. Neil Anderson. I believe you had Tom Waddle with you still. Like, that was a totally different offense than when Ron Turner started to open it up for you. Because it's like, you a 4-4 guy. What's the use of having you running deep if I'm not throwing you the ball? You know what I'm saying? Like, you running behind. Like, Neil Anderson is, not saying that they were holding on to the pass, even though they were. But that still was a run-dominant offense. But then, lo and behold, here comes Curtis Conway. Wow, the deep ball is back. Wow, here comes Raymond Harris. You know, we got a fullback that can catch out the backfield and move. Hell, you threw a touchdown to Raymond Harris, showing that you could throw the ball. Some innovation. Mm-hmm. So, like, I still have to wonder, like a guy like Mike Tomlin, 15 years, he's adjusted. He's moved. He's switched coordinators and stuff. So I've seen it with my own eyes that coaches that you've been with, people you've been with, there are people that will adjust, I guess, if you want to win or save your job. But this cat, man, it just seemed like I'm running curl, flat, and that's it.
Well, I will say this, to Wannstedt defense, I wasn't the same Curtis Conway in year 1 that I was in year 3.
Oh, no.
Clearly. But
when we opened it up, so, you know, my game took off, you know, and then not to mention, I know we're talking about me a lot, but, you know, I don't think there's a Curtis Conway that early without a Jeff Graham. Because Jeff Graham was our number 1 wide receiver, not Curtis Conway. I benefited off of Jeff Graham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. Like Jeff balled out in 94, which means when you come back in 95, who do we got to stop? The young
he getting double coverage.
First rounder, he ain't done nothing yet. So I was able to hide for the first half of the year because Jeff Graham was the guy coming back. And so I just so happened to be at that point where Jeff, you know, I developed and I was ready. You remember, I only had 1 year experience as a wide receiver. So at that point, it took me, I would say, by the time the mid to the end of my second year, that's when I started really understanding how to be a pro wide receiver. So that's why I always say the same thing with these quarterbacks is you can't expect these guys to come in and turn a program around. You can't expect the coach to get a guy to come in and turn around. I can speak from a wide receiver experience, you know, like I said. So, you know, when you're talking this game, there's a lot that go into it that we have to really, you know, pay attention to. And I agree with the guys when they said that, you know, Matt should have stuck to his guns. I was like, right, Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, to the wheels fall off, because again, I'm not a firm believer of playing a guy just because you drafted him in the first round and we're not winning. Because I have to answer to, as a coach, I got to answer to the rest of the guys on my team. And like every single player on that Bear team they know what quarterback gives them the best chance to win the game. So no doubt. Again, that plays a psyche on the players when you're at practice and a coach says, we're going to start a guy that you know doesn't get you ready. But again, we're not in those meetings when, you know, maybe a GM, an owner, or somebody comes down and say, hey, what's going on with Justin? You know, these other guys don't look too good. Let's give him a shot. You know, it's easy for us to say, sitting in these chairs, that we would tell the owner or the GM or the person that writing our check, no, I'm sticking to this guy, even though they're not playing up to par. And we haven't seen Justin. Bro, I don't know too many coaches that are gonna tell somebody that they're not gonna play a top draft pick that hasn't been on the field yet, and these other guys are not playing. And that's why I said that the business part of it takes a toll on a head coach too. And we even talking about the great Bill Parcells and what he said. So this thing about what a coach shoulda, coulda, woulda, I'm never going to really get too hard on a coach, because I know for a fact how somebody that's not even at practice watching tape really understands what guys are doing could come and tell you what to do as your boss, and you have to do it no matter how we want to sit here and say, well, I'm gonna stick to my guns. Like right now, I don't know who you guys work for, but if your boss came right now and told you to do something, guess what? 90% of the time you're gonna do it. And that's that shit. More than anything.
Yeah, but we're also not going in front of an entire panel of reporters and saying we're going to do something different either. So.
Trust me, the media get lied to every Sunday.
Oh, yeah, every day.
Because an owner says something at the end of the year, that don't mean like trust me, man. Like I said, there's a lot going on behind that curtain, bro. And sometimes you got to take the high. You know, we talked about Allen Robinson. You don't think Allen Robinson was looking at this situation at quarterback like, man, what has I gotten myself into? But he's not going to go public and say that.
No doubt.
True.
So what makes you think Matt hadn't got something said to him And he like, man, everybody think it's this when it's really this, but I can't go public and say this because, you know, this is the situation. So, like I said, we got to be real careful, man, because like I said, playing in this league for 12 years, man, it's a lot of stuff that go on behind the curtain that, you know, just get kept tight to the vest, and, you know, only close friends really know what's going on for real, because that's what you got to call, like, man, they tripping, they ain't throwing me the ball. But I ain't gonna get in the press conference and be like, man, you know what, if they would have threw me, if I would have had 15 targets, man, I would have had 100 yards. You're not gonna say that, but trust me, in your mind, you're like, damn, can I get 12 targets this game?
See, what you brought up Jeff Graham. Let me ask you a real quick question, man. Jeff Graham, you get Jeff Graham and Curtis Conway, or Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey?
What? Come on, Herb.
I'm gonna tell you, I absolutely love Alshon. I put it like this. I used to love watching those two guys play, man. Like, I ain't gonna put Jerry Rice over me, just because that's just who I am. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, Jerry is that dude. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, man, if I'm honest, me and Jeff was special. I think, considering what we were dealing with at that time, like, passing the ball wasn't an emphasis. Although we did it, it wasn't our emphasis. Our emphasis was running the football. And when you look at, you know, a couple years after we left, you know, it was pass. You know, you go and get Jay Cutler. You know, why did they didn't go get Jay to run the ball? They got him to pass. So, you know,
y'all had put that taste in their mouth.
Was more run-oriented pass. But, man, I'm going to tell you, bro, like Alshon and B. Marsh, bro, I'll take those guys any day.
That was definitely great guys, but I'm looking back at your dynamic, because when we drafted Rashawn Salam, I was just like, they're going to try to make him Walter Payton all over again. God rest both their souls. But I'm looking, you know, because I'm that guy. I'm playing the video game. I'm like, Curtis Conway don't never drop the ball on Tecmo Bowl, man. Michael Thompson burns everybody. Bobby Ingram don't drop in the. I'm like, Keith Jennings is a monster. I'm like, dude, y'all had the blueprint like right then and there. And I'm just like, had we, and again, I cannot say anything enough. We love Erik Kramer. He was one of our best quarterbacks ever. If it wasn't for a couple of injuries, maybe we would have had a little bit more success. But see, when we see Steve Walsh coming in, we was like, oh, man. We seen Dave Craig. I'm like, ain't he like 50? You know, we just like, oh, my God. And then we felt like at certain times, it's like, man, back to back. And then it's like, damn. Then we pick up Raymond. Then it's like, man, defense is cold. Mark Carey, Jim Flanagan and the boys we had something moving there, man.
Yeah.
We really did.
The worst thing we did in the 90s was let Jeff Graham go.
Oh, yeah.
Because, again, business. I was the most impressive in the Showtime and the 12 touchdowns and the deep ball. But Jeff Graham was a hog, man. He was our dude. Like, literally, I ate off of Jeff Graham's plate. The reason why I was able to go deep and deal things I did, because he drew a lot of double coverage. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to let anybody stop me from going deep one-on-one. So it benefited. And then we was a tight end, fullback, run the ball type of offense. So Jeff Graham, believe it or not, man, he had a lot to do with my success, not to mention that offense. So when we let him go because of business, because both of our contracts was up. So yeah, both of our contracts was up after that year. We both had great years. So instead of paying both of us, they paid the guy that they drafted. They had to pay me because they drafted me with the 7th pick.
Right.
They brought Jeff Graham over as a free agent. So not saying I didn't earn it, but I think in the sense, business-wise, I got that contract by default because we were both up. I felt they should have kept us both because we were dynamic together. You got to remember that year, man, at one point, we were putting up numbers like the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys.
30 points. I'm watching it for Rams, Detroit.
32. Woo! You know what I'm saying? So to not keep that together, that was even devastating for me because now
you got the double coverage.
There you go. Now that offseason, I spent my whole offseason learning how to run routes versus double coverage. I just learned how to be a receiver. Now you get rid of my, because really technically he was Batman and I was Robin.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To keep it 100, I was just making a lot of the big plays.
Right, because he had more receptions that year. You had like 62, 63, I think.
Yeah, he had more receptions and yards.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, that goes back to the business part that I was saying, that they should have kept us both. They could have kept us both, but they didn't want to pay two receivers big time money, and we both earned our keep. That I think if we kept Jeff Graham, we rolling like that 9-7 season, and we didn't make it to the playoffs because we thought the 49ers was going to win, and we end up, not holding our own destiny. But I felt like that 95 team, Erik Kramer healthy in 96, we get Jeff Graham back, bro. We pushing for the Super Bowl because we had that kind of offense and we had that kind of confidence, and we knew our offense. I was in the offense for 3 years. Jeff was in it for 2. Erik was in it for 3. So at that point, man, it was just sky was the limit for us, man. And I really believe like that Jeff Graham move, and then of course Erik getting hurt. And when Dave Craig took over, man, that kind of killed everything.
I got a question for JB real quick. When he mentioned Erik Kramer, he said he was one of our best quarterbacks we've ever had. Who else is in that group?
That's the first jersey I ever got was Erik Kramer.
Who else is in that group of best quarterbacks we ever had?
You talking serious? Because there's one name, no matter what you think of, you got to say.
You were gonna say Jay Cutler?
No. Jim McMahon. You have to say Jim McMahon.
I don't have to say.
I think Jim McMahon was the most average quarterback of Bears history.
Jim McMahon was Chicago's
most average quarterback of all time in Bears history, bro.
The man helped us get to a Super Bowl. I can't say nothing
Walter
about it.
Payton got us to the Super Bowl.
JB, you could have quarterbacked that team to the Super Bowl.
The defense gave up
7 points a game.
Yes, Walter Payton and the defense.
But I'm just saying, I got to give him some credit. Like,
that's the only
I'm not dissing Jim
You're not the quarterback guy. Every time somebody wins, you got to get a quarterback some credit. You're not that guy.
Hold on. Because I don't give Trent Dilfer a damn thing.
Brad Johnson, one of those guys. Yeah.
Why are you giving Jim McMahon credit?
They're the same 3 dudes. I mean, all he had to do is turn around and hand that thing to Walter Payton 25 times a game.
Right.
Play action beat to Willie Gault. Once we get 14, the game is over.
Willie Gault.
Sometimes Jim McMahon would look at Dick and be like, "Man, I ain't doing what you said." He gonna throw that thing with Jim. I gotta give Jim a little burn, man. I gotta give
that Vikings game. Whenever he came in with the right arm, first play, what'd he do? Bomb to Willie Gault. That's all he had to do. That's all he ever had to do, man. He's the most average quarterback in history. Now, Jay Cutler, I can get behind you on Jay Cutler, but I cannot.
Yeah, I'll take Jay before Jim.
Any day of the week, man. Any
But
day.
I don't have a problem. Y'all know I got a Jay Cutler jersey, but I'm just saying, like, for me, I got to give the fucking QB a little bit of credit.
My
But like
my point is,
JB, I got
Erik
a question
Kramer
before
is
you get
hands
done.
down the best quarterback we've ever had.
100%.
That's sad, man.
I said he was number one. You know that.
That's sad, bro. I don't even disagree with y'all. Actually, I think Jay is number
We
one.
still never had a 4,000-yard passer.
It's sad.
We're the charter franchise. We still haven't had a 4,000-yard passer, guys. That's how bad it is.
In a passing era.
In a passing
era. Team. So we had a question.
Bro, the way these boys throwing the ball now,
next year.
1,000 yards is nothing now.
Especially
Wake
with
up with
another
1,000.
game added on too. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we just had 1,000. They averaged 10 points a game.
Yeah.
We had a question that I meant to. Yeah.
Oh, we had one in the chat. Who was the best player that you ever played with?
LaDainian Tomlinson.
Good answer.
Please
elaborate on that. Why?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I'm gonna tell you, man. When I was with the Chargers, LaDainian and Drew Brees came in the same year.
I was gonna say Drew Brees.
And when I tell you 2 guys that came in and you would have sworn that they've been in the league 8 years, just the way they handled themselves, they practice, their mental, like you knew they were gonna be special. But man, LT, like we literally, you gotta remember, we had Marty Schottenheimer. And I love Marty Schottenheimer, but we knew we was gonna ride LaDainian when we drafted him. And bro, when I tell you somebody that like basically a rookie took on like he was a Super Bowl MVP, you know, been playing in the league 10 years, LaDainian didn't hesitate, bro. He took on that, he put that hat on and he rolled with it, man. And to watch him, and for me, it's not just we saw who they were on the field, him and Drew. But when you talk about class acts off the field, you know, I was really impressed with the way they even dealt with their girlfriends, you know, off the field. Like they wasn't partying and hanging out and spending, like they were literally veteran guys, came in, you know, and they was just professionals, man. And so, you know, I literally, I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's a ball behind me that Drew Brees sent to, I guess, every receiver that caught a pass from him when he broke the record.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so that ball back there, and that's special to me to say that I actually caught some balls from one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. So that's a kind of a hard one, but, you know, when it comes down to it, man, because LT took the team and put it on his back his very first year, that's why I have to go with LT slightly over Drew Brees.
Yeah. So I got a question related to that too. Mm-hmm. How was it catching the ball from Doug Flutie? Because you know where I'm going.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something about
catching
Flutie,
the ball right
man.
here.
Flutie was, man, he was the bomb, bro. I'm gonna tell you, and I never experienced a quarterback telling me this, but I never forget when he got there. Mm-hmm. He was saying, Curtis, on these slant routes, you may not see me because I might have to get it through these creases because, you know, he's not tall, so he's not gonna get the ball over the top. You run a slant route, you're not gonna see him. He said, just be prepared for the ball to come through the lane. That was in my 10th season, bro. I ain't never heard nothing like that in my life. But sure enough, he found a way to get those balls through those little creases, and all you can see is the ball coming through, man. And you had to make the catch. But I think if he didn't give me a heads up, man, that first couple games, I probably would have dropped every last one of them just because you couldn't really see him back there. But he made it work, man. And you know, that was one of the stories that I love to tell people, man, because to not see your quarterback throw the ball on a slant, that's unheard of.
Because that looked like a fun year because you had some old Bears with you.
Yeah. JG, Jeff Graham again.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Jeff Graham teamed up. But again, like I said, man, we at that point in my career, unfortunately, I had to lead the Bears, but the game had slowed down so much for me that it really became fun. You know, I think in Chicago and my departure, you know, because I was frustrated with not having a quarterback every year, and I basically ran into the same problem when I went to San Diego, and then the injuries, you know, it was time for a change. I wasn't really having fun like I was from like 94, I would say, to like 97. You know, I wasn't really having fun. You know, I got to San Diego and it was kind of a rebirth of Curtis Conway, because if you look at my numbers outside of the touchdowns, I actually had better numbers in San Diego than I actually had in Chicago, the good years that I had. And, you know, and I was just having fun again, you know, so, you know, and again, being with one of your friends, it was just like playing Pop Warner football, believe it or not. You know, it wasn't no pressure. It was just go out there and play ball, and you got the family in the stands, man. So, yeah, I was having a lot of fun there.
Good.
Okay. Nothing? Euler again?
So I wanted to am I on mute again? No, I'm not.
No, you ain't.
Okay, we good. So we talked about how Jim Harbaugh might be a good fit. We talked about how Matt Nagy was a terrible fit, how he didn't make adjustments. So out of all the names that we're hearing right now,
well, I got a list for you if you want to go
bring up that list. Bring up that list.
Go up the list, AB.
We got a list right now.
God,
so out of all those names,
and here we go.
Who are the top 5 that would actually be like a good fit for the
top 5? How about top 3, man? That's a lot of
names. I actually think I left one out too.
Yeah, me.
Me.
Okay, so let's keep the list up.
Let's go with top 3.
Kellen, you have to move the list.
No, I don't got to do a damn thing. Keep going.
Okay, I like Greg Norman. We saw what he did with Lamar Jackson. We just talked about adjusting. If anybody was able to make an adjustment, I Leftwich, and it's a few guys on there that deserve a head coaching job. Whether it's a good fit or not, I think only time will tell. But I think Leftwich is a guy that if you want to get a guy for your quarterback, I mean, Brian Leftwich is a quarterback, coach with, Tom Brady. I think it's his time. The other guys, man, when you look at it, Josh McDaniels, I think he would be good. He had a shot, though. I want a guy that hasn't had a shot, And again, that may be me favoring some of these guys that I feel like deserve a job versus, who will fit good in Chicago. Because quite frankly, I see Leslie Frazier, Todd Bowles.
Thank you, Bullets. I knew I forgot one, and I thought it was the Colts guy. Thank you.
So then, Seaway, your pick would be more emotional than logical.
No, I'm just saying that if I had to go logic, then it all depends on what I'm looking for. Because again, you got to take like Greg Norman for example. He was able to fit an offense. He can basically, in my opinion, he could take that offense from Baltimore and bring it to Chicago. And if Justin can't do that,
maybe it's not for him.
You know what I'm saying? So that to me is a good fit if he brings that offense over there. But then I don't want to bring a coach just because of a quarterback, which I do know that's kind of the theme. Because at the end of the day, some of these defensive guys can go get a good offensive coordinator and get out the way and let the coaches develop him. Because still at the end of the day, you need somebody to develop a Justin Fields, and it doesn't have to be a head coach. You need a head coach that understands that this guy needs development and stay out of the room. Just stay out of the way, and a guy's going to have to trust his coordinator. So, there's a lot of those guys I think can make a good, because I'm all about defense. I'm going to be honest with you. I believe defense wins championships. At the end of the day, the passing game is sexy. But at the end of the day, if you look at 90% of the Super Bowl teams, look at where the defenses are ranked at the end of the year. More likely they got a pretty solid defense. So and think about it. The last time we went to the Super Bowl, what kind of coach did we have?
Defense.
Who was the quarterback?
Rex Grossman.
Rex Grossman is on.
With all due respect, but I'm just saying, the objective is to get to the Super Bowl. We could throw for 4,000 yards and don't make the playoffs like we did. So I'm all about trying to win a Super Bowl, man. And I'm the type of guy, I would go defense and get a coordinator that is going to develop Justin. And as a defensive guy, I would get out the way. So any of those defensive guys, Brian, just, from Miami,
Flores, yeah.
A lot of these guys, to me, like Brian, in my opinion, like I'm shocked he's even out there, to be quite frank.
There's some rumors why that's going on though.
It has to be something other than what we see.
Bad riffs with Tua. He got in a screaming argument with him supposedly.
He never wanted Tua though. He wanted Justin Herbert.
He never wanted Tua, and the front office still wants to go around Tua, so they came at a
Yeah, him and the GM were bumping heads.
Yeah, they were bumping, but that's the guy that a lot of people should. But what about? I know this is crazy, but look at what John Harbaugh did as a special teams coordinator. Special teams coordinators, for a lot of people that don't know, speak with everyone on the team. You have to give them credit. Dave Toub is a guy who I think is long overdue for a good look at a head coaching position. Everywhere he's went, he's succeeded. He knows how to speak to players. And just like I said, special teams coordinators, whenever the head coach is out, you usually see them head coach the team, right? So
we saw that this year with the Bears.
You saw it this year. Why can't Dave Toub get a look?
I love that.
It's a great thing, man. We talked about – my bad. Go ahead, C-Way.
No, you go.
We talked about, Baltimore being able to tailor their offense to whatever the personnel calls for, right? So one thing with Joe Flacco, completely different thing when you bring in Lamar Jackson. I think that's because special team coordinators understand how to work with moving parts. They understand every single aspect of the roster. Guys, they have guys coming in, coming out, who's starting this week, who's not starting than an OC or a DC. I think that, they should get a lot more opportunities in terms of being head coaches, because being a head coach is really just about managing the entirety of the team, right? Some of these guys call plays offensively or defensively, but I think the best head coaches, they are managers. They manage the whole thing. That's what Mike Tomlin does. He don't call plays for the Steelers. He don't do the defense either, right? He's a leader of men. He manages the entirety of the team. I think that's what special teams coordinators are very, very good at. Dave Toba's done that well here. He's done it well in KC. I think that he deserves an opportunity, and I think you need to look no further than what John Harbaugh has been able to do in Baltimore to say, hey, maybe we should look a little bit more at some of these special teams coordinators. I agree with you, AB, that special teams coordinators don't get enough love.
I like that.
I like it too. I mean, unfortunately, my list is bringing Toe back as a special teams because, look at what he did with Devin Hester and everybody. Like, that's my dream. But my team, like, I love Bowles. I love Frazier. My OC going to be Jim Caldwell. My DC, I'm reaching out to either Fangio or Rex Ryan. And I say, let's roll with this thing.
That's we just get rid of Sean Desai. We just get rid of him.
Yeah, I like Sean. I
don't want to get rid of Sean.
Man. Ideally, I would like Vic Fangio to run the defense, but if not Vic Fangio, I would like Sean Desai. Now, unless you go out and make Byron Leftwich the head coach, and then he's able to bring Todd Bowles with him. Like, if you hire Leftwich as the head coach, and then Todd Bowles is willing to come keep those guys together, I think that works out well. But I wouldn't just cast Sean Desai off. I think he's a bright young man. He knows the game very well. His players play hard for him. I think he dealt with a lot of things this year in terms of personnel, not having a number 2 corner.
He can't do that, though, because that's a lateral move.
That's a lateral move unless his contract is up. Right, yeah, unless his contract is up.
And I'm not 100% sure on that.
But again, we have to remember, guys, we're trying to win. It's not about emotional. Because if it's about emotions, there's a lot of people that would probably be in positions they didn't even deserve or that they just haven't, earned or that time has just passed them. But
that's all the time.
Am I saying Sean Desai is a bad coordinator? No. Am I saying he's a bit overwhelmed for what the Bears have going on trying to move forward? Yes. Perfect example, the Green Bay game. Had Devontae Adams flustered. Had Aaron Rodgers looking like Buck Rodgers. We was on the way to a nice victory. What does he do? He takes Jalen Johnson off, and what happens? Bam, floodgates open. You can't make those type of mistakes when you're exactly bullets. You can't make those type of mistakes, and then when it's evaluation time, they're not going to look at just, okay, the team right around you when you played against the Raiders. No, what did you do against the upper echelon team? What did you do when our backs was against the wall when we couldn't score in the red zone 6 times against Minnesota, a couple of weeks back? That's why I say I think he is a bright young mind, but I don't necessarily think this team, maybe if he was like the D coordinator for the Jets with Robert Saleh, they have a similar mindset concept, but not right now. We need new energy. Defensive coordinator needs to be hard-nosed, needs to be a stand-up. Like, if the offense is not going to win it, D, we going to win it for you. We need that type of D coordinator.
I want to argue with that.
I mean,
My bad,
what
AB.
about personnel, though, JB? Because, he had a lot of injuries this year. There was a lot of moving parts, too. And, yes,
number
you're
2
right.
corner, no nickel.
Safeties were suspect at best. Eddie Jackson took a massive step back this year.
How about terrible?
We all know that.
We do. But Seaway, what did you just say? You adjust, right?
Yeah, you do. But, okay, so, a great example was what Bullet said about they got 31 put up on them. What happened at home when their entire secondary was out and they played a hot Kirk Cousins coming in? What happened? He threw for 87 yards, man. You can't tell me that this guy with new pieces around him can develop them into something. I think that they can. I think this is personnel-wise. I think there's injuries all over this team. He had
injuries
a
is
guy.
a part of football, though, AB.
He had a guy.
Part of football.
He had a guy over his head too, though. Like, it wasn't just Sean Desai.
they gave up. We talk about them giving up 31 to Minnesota. First of all, the defense scored a touchdown. That's number one.
Yeah.
So you're starting at 24 points. Second of all, what is Sean Desai supposed to do about Eddie Jackson being shoulder to shoulder with Justin Jefferson, and he still comes down with the touchdown?
So there's another tutty right there. That's another 7.
That's not a bad call. Like, what is he supposed to do about that?
But Herb, if you go back to earlier in the game when he had Vildor and Jackson blanketing him as a 2-on-1 and had Jalen Johnson in zero coverage, he couldn't get the ball to Jefferson. Why go away from that? That's what I'm talking about.
No,
sometimes you cut your nose off to spite your face.
I definitely agree with you about the Green Bay game. If you're going to go into the game again, you're going to go into the game with a game plan, right? And you're going to say that Jalen Johnson is shadowing Devontae Adams, and he did it very well. And then as soon as you take him off of him, he burns like either Artie Burns or Kendall Vildor for a touchdown. Like I agree with you on that, like 100%. Like that shouldn't happen, right? If you're gonna put him on there, put him on there. But I do understand what he's saying in terms of Jalen Johnson may not be ready for all of the duties at nickel, right? And so if you run the pass play at nickel, then it's fine. He can cover Devontae Adams. But if it becomes a run out of nickel, or you playing this particular zone coverage out of nickel, Jalen ain't used to being in there. There's a lot of other things when you're out on that island that's different when you're inside like that. And so if he's not ready for the other dudes, I can understand saying, okay, maybe I need to get somebody who's more familiar with the nickel spot to play nickel. I agree with you. I would have kept him on him. I would have let him go. If Devontae Adams go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom. That's what I would have been on. But.
So like old school football, it's that one person that's not going to beat me no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I say conceptually, okay, if we know that we're trying to turn weaknesses into strength, in football, a lot of times, I hope you agree, it's about masking the weaknesses sometimes, right? So if we know that our number 2 and nickel and dime cornerback, aren't the greatest, at least don't put them in a position to get beat by one of the best receivers in the league, especially when you've seen success prior to that second half.
Yeah,
that's
but
what I'm
how
saying.
do you do that and at the same time, JB, how do you do that and then also keep everyone else intact? Because
somebody else got to beat me.
Well, we're naming off people that can. Alec Ogletree, not very good in a pass coverage scheme. You've got a corner that you needed, safeties that you needed, slot guys. That's a lot of guys right there to not get,
Front seven was in and out all season.
But
it just doesn't really equate to me to.
But hold on. You say that.
The problem.
You say that, but in fairness, it was working the whole first half. They were covering the whole first half. They were shutting them down the whole first half.
This is more or less why I would be mad at Sean Desai, because accountability. He's not holding Eddie Jackson accountable for his bad play throughout the season. How many times did we see him miss tackles, blown coverages, running into his own guy, and then the guy running in for a touchdown? Like, I would be more mad about the fact that he didn't hold people accountable than his personnel wise. His leader on his defense is one of the guys giving up most of the plays, and you're not holding him accountable.
Get mad at what?
Are you helping my point? Are you saying that you want him to hold his people accountable?
I'm saying that if I'm getting mad at him for something, it's not about scheming. It's not about personnel. It's about the fact that one of your captains came in and played like dog crap half the year, blown coverages all over, blown tackles all over, and you never held him accountable. He was asked by the media. Herb was in the room with them. He knows. He was asked specifically about a Sean Desai, or about an Eddie Jackson.
Yeah.
And crickets. Nothing.
So
crickets.
What do you do in that situation? Because
this is all I heard.
Clearly, maybe because he's new, is he not really comfortable making that decision?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. He needs time to grow in the position, just like a quarterback.
Do we have time though?
We do now.
I think we also got to factor in that case specifically. Sean Desai was a secondary coach before he was the DC. Like, he knows,
and that's the worst position on the field.
Eddie Jackson.
Hold on.
Here's bullets. He was benched at Alabama for the same thing.
So I want to jump to Seaway for a second. Seaway.
Sorry, Seaway.
We're on Eddie Jackson. We are on Eddie Jackson all the time. At least I am.
Every day.
I'm on Eddie Jackson every week because this dude tackles with his shoulder. He knocks his own teammates down. He misses tackles, and he's making cereal.
He's making
buy one get one free too.
He's making cereal. It's like
that up the other
like
hold on. Hey, B, show him the picture.
Hang on a minute.
Anyway, you gotta see this.
What, as a business or a commercial?
It, guys.
No, you gotta see this.
He's making cereal.
Let me go find it. I gotta figure out
where
it's at.
It's like on sale, like buy one get 5 free or some crazy stuff like that.
Where did I put that?
Like, how do you play terrible football, but you're making cereal?
Like, is he like?
Y'all don't want no Bojack?
Bojack.
No, they can Bojack anyway.
Yeah, it's called Bojack cereal, like breakfast cereal.
I think Herb eating it right now. He eat Bojack's.
That's gonna take me a while.
So this is his business.
I'm starving.
It's his business.
Well, I mean that tells you right there.
And they had buy one get one free at the grocery store downtown Chicago. I can't find a picture.
They can't get enough of it.
Well, let's see where the focus is.
But see, that's the thing. Like,
he got paid and then he changed.
When you and please speak on this because I know
that happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
As a player, your mentality towards that, whenever you got paid, how did your mentality change after you got your payday?
It never changed because I always felt I had something to prove.
That's the difference between you and Eddie Jackson.
And that's why I go into we don't know what goes on in these rooms. I've been in rooms where guys literally like, man, I got my check, I'm good. And the coach can't, you don't like fans don't and media don't see these guys at practice, see these guys in the meeting room. But man, guess what? Their whole goal was to get to the league, to get paid. Now, guess what? I got that second contract. And I'm not saying this for anybody, but I've been on teams where I've actually seen guys get that money. And shoot, man, if they got a little ding, they ain't trying to practice.
That's Eddie.
I'm good.
That's Eddie.
So they just check out.
Yeah, because at that point, a lot of guys are very talented, but at the same time, you got to remember a lot of us is on that grind, bro. We ain't never had that kind of bread. So once you get that bread, now you waking up on the off season, you go work out for 2 hours and you got all this time. You doing all kind of stuff once you get that bread. And some people have financial goals to a degree. It's just like, man, I'm if I don't play another down, I'm good. And here's another thing that if you can't handle it, don't do it. But a lot of guys, it's like, man, for the right reason, they may be saying, I don't know when this is going to end. I need to start a business. Now,
and I'm not mad at that, but after 4 years, you checked out 4?
Oh, well, you only checking out as long as they allow you to check out. Because if they're going to keep paying you, you're not going to say, I'm not going to take that money. You're going to keep coming. And if you can get away with, if you that guy that's checked out and they still allowing you to do what you do, guess what? That ain't on the player. That's on the organization.
True. Why doesn't the coach see these things and then call these guys out for this stuff? But you don't see them holding them accountable. They just keep playing it.
You said the magic word. You don't see it. But you got to remember something. It's a business. So if a guy is in a certain financial power position, and man, I've been on teams where guys, and I've even known this at some point, at certain parts of your contract, you're untouchable.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No matter what you do, like if you re-sign a deal in that first year, bro, you best believe they just gave you a signing bonus. You're not getting cut. And it ain't too much your position coach can say to you at that point. See, that's what I'm saying. It's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors that coaches don't really have as much power as you think they do because the business side really runs the NFL. Now, you do have coaches and players that, like I said, they really want to go out there and they love ball. They got a chip on their shoulder. But, man, I done played with plenty of players that got paid. And, man, they had a Pro Bowl year one year, then come around, they get that check, and it's like that next year, it's like you can't get them on the practice field.
Now, I feel you on that. Like, we talk about draft picks. If we draft a guy in the first round and you say he ain't ready yet, wait to play him later, I'm cool with that. But if I just gave a veteran dude 50, 60 million, why he on the bench? I'm calling down there in the second quarter. Hey, that dude I'm paying 50 million, get his ass on the field. Like, what are we doing?
Because you were stupid and you paid him 50 million and he's giving up on you. That's what you got to say to that owner.
All you want to, bro. He's getting
that's fine. Get him on the field, okay? Because I'm paying him $50 million. Why is Marquis Christian at safety? Why is Jordan Lucas at safety? Why is Tees Tabor out there covering Devontae?
Oh, don't say that. Oh, God.
Hey,
Oh.
honestly, if a guy comes and tells you he's hurt and he may not be hurt, just say he's milking it. I'm not saying no names or anything. I'm just throwing it out there. Like I said, it's easy for us to say that, bro, but everything you guys are saying, I've experienced it. I've seen coaches like I went through it when, I got a hamstring and because I'm fast, it's like, shit, put him out there. He's still faster than half the guys out there, but I'm not myself. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But because I'm who I am, I'm going to go out there and play. I mean, I broke my collarbone in 97. We wasn't playing well. They was telling me I shouldn't come back because we wasn't going to the playoffs. Guess what? I still wanted to play because I love playing football. So it was never about the money. Whereas some guys, it's like, man, look, I got a messed up shoulder, bro.
Good, shut it
the
down.
Doctors checking them, and the doctors are telling the coaches, like, this guy is saying this. We don't really see nothing, but this is what he's saying. You can't force a guy on the field. All you can do is cut him. And you're not going to cut a guy if you just gave him 10, 15 million in a signing bonus. And because for at least 2 years, you're going to eat some money. So again, so I said, there's a business side to this where a lot of people hands get tied, and it all depends on what side of the fence you on. As a player, do you got leverage, or because most guys at the end of their contract is where their leverage goes out the door because their base salary, for the most part, I don't know if it's still the same, but most contracts are backloaded. So if you go into that second to last year or last year and you tripping and you about to make a lot of money, that's when you're more likely for them to say, you know what, kick rocks, you out of here. But early on in that contract, man, shoot, you can miss the whole season and you won't get cut. They just gave you signing bonus. They not about to eat that money like that.
You bring me to another point, C-Way. You bring me to another point. What are we doing with Tariq Cohen?
Bye.
What are we doing?
See ya.
I mean, was he really hurt all that time? Or was it Khalil Herbert that said, okay, Tariq, you sit your ass down?
He out.
Again, man, I can't speak on if somebody's really hurt or not. And what they're doing, like I said, I'm never going to speak on something if I'm not in the room because, again, I've been on all sides with guys that are legit and I got guys that are faking. And, again, you just never, like I said, us on the outside, we don't really know what's really going on behind that curtain. So only they know. Only they know if a guy, is he BSing us? Is he? They know that we could speculate all we want, and then that player knows. So I can't really go there in that situation because, like I said, I do respect the fact that there's some hard decisions to be made, and sometimes you can see a guy milking it, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's legit and it's just bad timing. So that's a tough one for me.
So if they cut him after June 1st of this year, they're going to save $1.75 million this year. Or sorry, the dead money is $1.75 million this year and next year. They save a total of $9.75 million by cutting him.
Not to mention, why trade for Jakeem Grant?
Done deal. How do you know if he's worth it or not, C-Way? Because he didn't play all year. Right. You don't know how he's going to respond to this injury that's taken longer than it should have.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Either they're going to try to get some value from him because you don't get a Jakeem Grant for a 6th-round pick to basically do the same thing that Cohen was already doing.
On in our YouTube chat.
Yeah, I see them talking about Bojay. I gotta say this about Tariq, man. First day of training camp, we get there, you see him limping around the field, and I reported on the first day of camp that Tariq wasn't going to be ready for the start of the season. I was like, he's got to start the season on pup. And at that point, everybody was hoping that he would be ready to play at the start of the regular season. But the very second you saw him, it was apparent that dude ain't nowhere near ready to play football. Like he couldn't even straighten out his leg, and his walk, it was a very, very, very noticeable limp. Like he couldn't walk straight. And so it's like, okay, he's not ready. But then you think about where we are medically with these ACLs now, and guys are coming back 8, 9, 10 months. It's like, well, something else had to happen here. Like they had to, some point, they had to go back into his knee. And
They did.
So we started to ask
and
Matt
still
Nagy at that point, like, okay, do they go back in his knee? And you know how the Bears answer everything. It was a roundabout, never really said
Word
they went back in his knee. We found out later that they did end up going back into his knee. But I think that I think the first time I saw Tariq Cohen jogging was probably like week 10, week 11. Like
that late?
Yeah, everybody's different, bro. Like
it was the first time I saw him on the field, even jogging. Like he wasn't ready to play football at all. Like at all. I was happy to see him jogging on the field at practice, but I don't know what they're gonna do in terms of money and all of that. I still think he's a good football player. I know they got Jakeem Grant to return punts, and I know that Khalil Herbert, showed some good things as a rookie. But I think that there's still a place for a guy like Tariq Cohen on this football team, unless they just purely make a money decision and say we'll save the money and get rid of him. I think he's going to be a good player in this league going forward, but he definitely wasn't going to be ready to play football. It was apparently the first day of camp.
You also got Daz Newsome, who can play back there as well. So you got another guy ahead of him.
So they actually went in twice.
Yes.
Yeah, they went in twice.
It's legit. So you can't be again. That's why I said I don't like speaking on these kind of things, because the one unwritten rule is, you know if you hurt or not. Mm-hmm. No matter what the doctor says, if you hurt or not. Because again, I done been on teams where, they force you out there, depending on the situation, and a guy has to be strong enough to say, no, I'm not ready. No matter how the coach looking at me, no matter what the fans are saying, no matter how much money you pay me, I'm not ready. And that's a tough thing for anybody, man. But for somebody to need to go in twice, and like you said, you didn't see him jogging until after halfway during the year.
Yeah,
man, you can't, man. I don't care who you are, you can't speak. It's hard to speak on that,
But Seaway, does that become a business decision now? Because if that $9 million becomes available for cap relief, and we're already cap strong,
yeah, it definitely becomes a business decision because at that point, is he going to be the same?
It's $4 million next year, and then 5.75 in 2023.
Yeah, it's definitely a business decision that, but again, like Herb was saying, he can come back and be a good player in this league, but is he 4.5 million? Mm-hmm. Is he worth the number? That's the big question. Is he going to come back and be the same? And that's just unknown. So that's one of those situations where as a front office, you got to make a decision, and you could be right and you can be wrong. You never know in these situations, but a knee, yeah, man,
that's real.
I'm never gonna argue with a guy that got a knee, man, and say he should be out there playing.
Agree.
I played with a guy right now in college, man, that he would have been a first-round draft pick still to this day from a knee injury. He can't bend his leg. He's still walking. And of course, like you said, the surgery's a lot different than back in the day, but you just never know how guys are going to recover from injury, man. It's tough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if let's say you're the GM, you get to wear that hat. Who would you draft in with our first pick in the second round? I believe that's 39th overall.
Yes.
You don't have to get specific about player if you don't want to. Position wise, who do you think we need to go after?
Oh man, I've always been a guy to go up front on either side of the ball, depending on, I personally, I like to build my defense and offensive line.
Yep.
Because I personally believe that players are really good enough. If you can protect, you can win. If you can rush the passer with 4, you can win games. So, it comes down to who's available at that time. And if you got a solid guy up front, you got your quarterback of the future. Give him time, protect him with an O-line. And defense helps out a lot for a young quarterback too. So I'm going to definitely, it depends on who's there. I'm going D-line, O-line. One of the two, depending on, the better player.
Interesting.
I think, for me, I would say it's tough to answer that question before free agency period.
Yeah,
true.
You feel a lot with free agency, and you'll see who they let go and then who they brought in to fill some of those spaces. So it's a little tough to answer then in terms of holes on the roster. But just looking at it, I think that Seaway is obviously right. You win the game in the trenches, right? So if you want to make sure you can protect up front, and I think that was, again, one of the biggest failures of the previous regime when you talk about Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, not definitively answering the question of, is Tevin Jenkins and Larry Borum, are they your two bookend tackles for the next 10 years? Not answering that question this year was a complete failure for them. I understand they brought in Jason Peters, and he played more than serviceable ball for them. Shout out to Jason Peters for coming in and doing that off his couch at 40 years old. But going forward, the Bears needed to know, is Tevin Jenkins my left tackle or my right tackle? Is Larry Borum on the other side? Because if they are, then you can say, okay, now let me just go and get Justin some more weapons to work with. But now you're going into another.
Oh, that's it.
His battery probably died.
He gone. But no, yeah, he's right. He's 100% right. We were screaming it a lot this year, JB. The last couple games, you had a Tevin Jenkins who's sitting on the sidelines. He came in for 6 plays.
6 plays.
Against Minnesota. He came in barely on the last game. Why? Why are you not playing these guys and seeing what you have? Yes, Matt Nagy's trying to win a game, I'm sure. But you've got to shore up your future. Even if you're in doubt of your next year, you have to make sure of that going forward. Hey, Herb, what's up?
There he is. He's back.
My bad, y'all. I don't know what happened. It just literally just dropped off my screen. But I was just saying, like, if you answer those questions, then you can go get a weapon. But now they don't know that they have the answers at the O-line spot. And also you're looking at a lot of turnover on the defensive line spot. Is Akeem gone for sure? Now the regime change, he may be willing to come back. You don't know, right? What's going to happen with a lot of these guys up front, the Angelo Blacksons, all of these guys. You got to see what's left. And
but see, the question is,
he showed some things.
He definitely. I looked at him like a diamond in the rough, especially like the way his motor. I love his motor, but I'm looking at that O line. I don't want to draft another rookie project O line. Not saying that second round picks are not plug and play guys that can be stars, but when you have a Ben Jones or a Nick Martin available at center, like, you got to kind of kick the tires on them in free agency, right, bros? And then when you have like I don't know, like, I think maybe Borum, AB, you say this all the time, maybe Borum should go to the left tackle. Maybe Tevin should go to the right where he was comfortable and played at a high level. Yeah. Hell, maybe we put Charles Daniels back at center, who that's what he was drafted at. I don't know.
James.
I'm sorry, I said Charles. James Daniels. But like,
if we re-sign him, because he's another guy, he's a big free agent target this year. Are they going to pay him that money? Are you going to pay Roquan? Roquan's going to demand.
Well, Roquan you can get next year, though.
They're going to. I would pay him now, because if you wait another year, that's just more money you're going to have to pay him.
It's more money.
Go up.
You don't have to pay him.
You might as well pay him that $25 million now and not pay him $27 next year.
But we only got, Herb, you could probably tell me a little better. I think we only got around 43, 44 million in cap this year.
That all depends.
They tough. Yeah.
As presently
the cap is flexible.
It fluctuates, but I'm saying it's presently constructed, so that's the only number we could go off of right now. And
sure.
Seaway, to your point, if you don't shore up that line now, I don't care what Justin's development is in the board. If you don't shore that line up, we're gonna be looking at Cleveland again and again and again and again and again. We got to do something with Mustafa. Sorry, Olin. Love Olin. We got to do something with Sam Mustafa. We have to. That's why I said Nick Martin. We got to do something with that. And then a lot of guys were saying, we got to get weapons. I don't think we need to get that big weapon right now. I think we can go into free agency. We could pick up a guy like Zay Jones, a 6'2" wide receiver from Oakland, who's coming off of not a great year, but a year where
Vegas,
where he wasn't used. And then next year, go for the big fish. Go for DK Metcalf. Go for some of those other top tier guys to get him weapons. But right now, trenches, defense, period. Otherwise, we're not gonna last long. We're gonna be 6-11 again.
Yeah,
I got a question too.
You're wasting your money if you try to go out and get a big play guy, especially a wide receiver, because at the end of the day, you can't even get the guys the ball you got now.
Right.
You got that right. And it's going to be another situation where you're forcing to get the ball to the money.
Yes. You wait until 2023.
Yeah.
2023 is going to have the biggest jump in free agency cap of all time. it's like going to be 30, 40, 50 million dollars.
So that's
like,
why you said you just waiting for 2023 to come.
Wait for 2023.
Yeah.
I got a crazy plan going
AB
forward.
already 2 years up.
I'm already trading Khalil Mack after June 1st. I'm trading Robert Quinn. I'm getting picks. I'm loading up for 2020.
Robert Quinn?
I asked him that very thing.
Why are we doing that?
I asked him.
He's 31.
Why are we doing what?
Why are we getting rid of Robert Quinn?
Yeah, because he's 31.
I agree with you. I agree with you, AB, because, and that's just been my philosophy. I think the problem with a lot of teams is everybody wants to win right now. Tom Brady done put 40 on a quarterback. So the way I see Justin, if you do right by him and do right around him,
15 years,
you got your quarterback for the next 15 years. So let's not try to go to the playoffs right now. Maybe in 3 years you go to the playoffs and you don't miss the playoffs for the next 5 years because you developed a team around the guy who you need to develop anyway. And I think that's the problem with the NFL is these guys want to win right now. If you don't win right now, you're going to get fired. And I understand it is pressure. But right now, you got your franchise guys. I believe Justin is going to be a really, really good quarterback in this league. But
we all agree.
Let's think about maybe 5 years from now being a consistent playoff team. And then guess what? If you get 3 or 4 Super Bowls out of them in 15 to 17 years, you're going to look back and be like, man, that was a good plan. But trying to rush the process and spending all this money to get big-time guys that your offense is not even ready to explode, because if you don't have an offensive line, you ain't doing nothing.
We saw what happened to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl without that offensive line.
Yes.
You
can have every playmaker in the world. You can have Hall of Fame wide receivers. You can have Hall of Fame tight ends, Hall of Fame quarterbacks. If you
can't get it off, it don't matter.
Fronts, you're not getting there, and that's exactly the point of that. I actually asked Lance Briggs this exact question, and I'm going to ask you the same question, Seaway. If you could trade Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack, and Eddie Jackson after June 1st and save $84 million for the next 3 years and also get draft capital, would you not jump on that right away?
Yeah.
Lance Briggs said all of them but Robert Quinn, because he thinks that you need to have someone serviceable in there now, a vet with those guys. I think that this new coaching staff needs to come in, preach competition. You're not going to have competition with a bunch of overage guys that are playing most of the time. These young guys aren't going to get time.
31 is overage?
31 for a pass rusher. Look at me right now and tell me the top 20 sack leaders in the league are 31 and over. There's one. It's Robert Quinn. That's it.
Back in
all
the
the
day,
rest are
Bruce Smith,
back in the
Reggie
day.
White.
We're not back in the day anymore.
But he's like
2020.
Yeah, these boys got to pass rush 50 times a game now.
Different league now. You got to go constantly.
And they got to drop in the coverage sometimes too.
They have to play coverage. They have to
all
this
stuff. I'm a firm believer in rotating. Like get as many solid defensive linemen as you can versus spending a lot of money on one. Because when you can rotate that D line and that offensive line got to stay out there and they seeing new faces coming at them every other play.
Fresh.
Woo!
And that's what me and AB say this all the time. We have that with Kyrus Tonga. Eddie Goldman, if he actually, like you said, if you want to play football,
I think Eddie Goldman's gone.
I like Travis Gibson.
Yeah, but so everyone's on mute, or
everyone is.
There we go. Everybody was choppy for a minute there. Sorry, I didn't know who was talking or what was going on for a second. But okay, so Herb, question for you.
Yeah.
Did you like Travis Gibson? Do you like his development you saw this year throughout the year?
Like him? Y'all, absolutely. I think he took major strides this year. I kind of liken him to what Roy Robertson Harris was. I think that he came in as a project, switching positions, had to change his body type. I think once he got acclimated, he was able to produce. Roy Robertson finessed that into a nice contract for himself down in Jacksonville. I think that Travis Gibson is on a similar trajectory. I like this game.
So do you think he would have had that opportunity if Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn would have played all year?
No, obviously not. Those guys are going to take 80% of the snaps.
Exactly my point. You're never going to know what you have unless you start moving on from these over 30 guys. Chicago fans have this huge problem. We are way too sentimental about the guys we have. We would rather hang on to a guy a year too long than get rid of him a year early like a Bill Belichick does. And you wonder why he's always in the same positions in winning cultures, because he lives by that code and he doesn't change it. There's only one guy he did that for, and it's Tom Brady. And he finally did that. Why not?
Trying to run him out of there.
They were trying.
Just won a sack record, and you trying to get him out of here?
Yes. Now you're going to get more from him now than you ever
that's
had.
The benefit. I think that's the benefit of hitting the reset button, right? This new regime comes in. There is none of that pressure, right? The new GM is not on the hot seat. The new head coach is not on the hot seat. And so even if they go with your plan, AB, it sounds like you trying to go 2-15 next year. But even if they do, nobody's gonna get fired. Nobody's gonna get fired by that. Right? There is no pressure to for them to win, and so that's the benefit of hitting the reset button. You get a chance to be able to do that. And I asked George McCaskey that yesterday. I was like, listen, do you want a GM who's coming in here viewing this thing as a kind of reload and trying to use the pieces that you got to be able to be competitive next year? Or do you want a GM that's looking to come in and say, this is a complete rebuild? And I said,
no, it's funny that you asked
leverage
that.
Contracts like Khalil Mack.
So I was actually going to ask you this exact question because I might have a little tidbit of yesterday's press conference. Let's take a look at that real fast.
George, is it your preference that the next general manager comes in with the plan of kind of reloading some of the assets that you already have, or do you prefer them to view this as a complete rebuild where guys like perhaps a Khalil Mack could be leveraged for future assets? Do you have a preference whether they view this as a rebuild or a reload completely?
Thanks, Herb. We're looking forward to hearing what the candidates' plans are for getting the Bears back to the top. We'll leave that to them to present the details to us. We don't have a particular approach in mind.
So first and foremost, your question was longer than his answer. Well, well said, by the way, but how do you view that question? Because you obviously thought of it thinking in your own mind that you had a plan. What's your plan for it, Herb? I want to hear what you got to say about this.
To be honest with you, man, it's tough. I don't necessarily have an answer for it. And that's really why I wanted to ask the question, because I think I could see reasonably going either way. I really, really could. I could see a GM coming in here and saying, hey, let's keep a Khalil Mack. Let's keep a Robert Quinn. Let's keep these guys around. Let's see if we can be competitive right now. But I can also understand the logic that says, tear this thing down completely to the studs. Let's just go with whatever young talent that we have, the Justin Fields, the Travis Gibsons of the world, Darnell Mooney. Let's rebuild with those guys and those guys only, and everybody else can walk. Anybody that we can get something for, Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, whomever, all y'all can go, right? And I understand both thinking. I understand both schools of thought. I don't think that the Bears are going to compete for a Super Bowl next year or in 2 years. I think by the time the Bears are ready to compete for a Super Bowl, Khalil's contract will be a bad one. And I think that's for a lot of those guys. And so if you're looking at it that way, then it makes a whole lot of sense to say, let's cut bait with those guys and see what we can get back for them now. So from a business standpoint, yeah, I would say tear it down to the studs, rebuild that thing. Everybody wants, we talked about, if I'm building this thing, if I'm cooking, let me buy my own groceries. Then let's get rid of your groceries. I'm cleaning your cabinets out.
Yes.
Throw your whole refrigerator away.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So then you getting rid of Quinn too?
Yes.
So I wouldn't get rid of Quinn. I wouldn't get rid of Quinn. Everybody else right now is up for grabs. And the only reason I say I wouldn't get rid of Quinn right now, 31 is not old. Wait, am I mistaken in that thought process? 31 right now is not really old.
It depends. It's to me, it's not the number of the age, it's the productivity. And unfortunately, in the league, they love to put that age. Oh, he's too old. Like I've seen guys ball out, and because their financial number was high at a certain age, they didn't want to pay a guy that not to, you can't go get I can say you can go get a young guy that can play to the caliber of a Quinn. Now, if you got that on your roster and you see that, absolutely, but. Somebody like Robert Quinn, if you can hold on to him, and it's not a financial, burden. You don't have a guy that can, at least you don't see somebody potentially having that kind of success in the next year or two. Then so you keep them. But for me, I'm like this. We all know They didn't draft Justin Fields to build a defense. They want to win the Super Bowl, and I'm more about the future because I'm looking at Justin in the next 12 years being a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
So, like AB said, if we're looking at that, yeah, we might be 2-15 next year, but guess what? In 3 years, we may be in the playoffs and the chance to win a Super Bowl. And that's the chance that most organizations, it's hard to go tell your fans or to look like that's what you're doing because fans come to games to see wins every single year. And in the Bears situation, Herb, you just said it. I don't see them, no matter what they do, I don't see them in the NFC Championship next year. So let's plan on, okay, we got Justin for 5. Let's build around that 4 or 5 and see where we are at that point.
Right.
And then we can start going to make these big financial moves if we see ourselves going in the right direction. But other than that, man, you just spending money knowing that, you know, is Justin going to take us to the NFC Championship next year? Of course, we don't know that. But at the same time, the reality is, I mean, it ain't just the Chicago Bears. You got to look at the NFC as a whole. I mean, look at the teams that you got to face. Is he going to go and get us there within the next 2 years? No. So let's go get some pieces so we can compete with these teams. Aaron Rodgers ain't going nowhere no time soon. You know what I'm saying? You got Kyler Murray in Arizona. With these guys, I mean, the NFC, the Rams, I mean, you got some teams that you got to build a team around, and you can't sit around here and play with emotions and statistics.
Yeah.
You got to build for the next couple of years because one of those 5 teams you're going to have to see, and they loaded. All of those teams I just named right now,
they ready.
They loaded. And
they're going to be there.
Yeah, they're going to be there. Yeah. So that's what I would be thinking.
So get ready for the next. I'm going to have 2 things on this, and then I'm done. 1, Robert Quinn. By the time 2024 comes around, $17.2 million contract that year. You're going to probably end up cutting him. He's going to be, what, 34 by then? 35 by then? Come on now. Secondly, Von Miller, 31 years old, literally had 8 sacks in 2019, 4.5 going into the trade, and the Rams traded a 2nd and a 3rd round for him. You're telling me at the same age, a Robert Quinn, who in 2019 led the league in pressures and then was 2nd in sacks with 18.5, can't get that or better on the market?
Yeah.
And you're going through.
Hey, B, I'm pissed at you because you didn't convince me to go to the rebuild. My analyst mind is with the rebuild. My fan mind is with the compete all the time. Like,
I know that. Weird right now.
I understand that, and I do too. But it's just like Seaway says, man. We know we're not going to win next year, so why waste the time? Build what you have. Take your young guys and see what you have with them. Build through the draft. The salary cap's going up massive next year and the year after. Take advantage of it.
And not only that free money that you're going to have some big time offensive linemen that are young coming into their 2nd contract looking for that big deal. You're going to need that money. Forget the draft, bro. You're going to want somebody that's been proven in this league. And you got these linemen that's, you know, that might be in their 4th year, 5th year, that's going to be looking
Slater
for that
from the
big deal.
Chargers.
If you don't have that money available, you can't protect Justin. So now what are we doing? We're relying on the draft for a guy that we don't know nothing about to come in and protect our franchise quarterback. No, I want to go pay some linemen that I've seen play against NFL competition. Yeah, and you're going to have to break the bread, but if you can go get 2 or 3 big-time young offensive linemen that's proven themselves that you actually have NFL film on, that you can bring them in and to protect your franchise quarterback, man, that's to me, that's where I'm spending my money. So I need that money now because I don't have time to wait. I want to get that offensive lineman that's at the end of his contract and he's going into his 5th year. You know, I want that guy. And if I got to spend some money to get him, guess what? If he's showing me on tape that he's worthy, I'm going to get that guy. I don't want to rely on the draft to consistently bring my guy in to protect my quarterback who I plan on having around for the next 15 to 20 years. I mean, because that's basically if you develop a quarterback and you do right by him, that's what we're seeing. These quarterbacks are playing for a long time. So guess what? Let's go get the right pieces around him. And I'm talking about the offensive lineman that you get in that fourth or fifth year. Every year you can go pluck and get maybe one or two. And by the time you look up in 3 years, you're looking like the old Dallas Cowboys with your whole line being Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen to protect your franchise quarterback. To me, that's how I would build.
Let me ask y'all this, though. Because, I mean, we know that one of the best formulas in the NFL right now is to win while your franchise QB is on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
If we go with this plan, we smoking that window right now, right?
Why?
How does
say that
impact
again?
The team?
Say that again?
If we go with this plan to tear it down to the studs and rebuild, by the time we really talking about winning the Super Bowl, we're going to be coming up against the end of Justin's rookie contract.
You've got
maybe year 4, year 5.
Hey, you drafted him in the first round to give him $150 million. You didn't draft him for him to be not successful. You were hoping you have to break the bank with him. The only way you're going to do that,
but once you break the bank with him, can you still pay the line? Can you still pay the defense? That's what I'm asking. Like, ideally, you want to try to get that chip.
Now, if he's playing to that caliber of money, I think at that point, people they're going to want to come play and protect Justin. That's the incentive you get from having a young franchise quarterback that has proven himself worthy of getting that kind of contract. Now, you got a bargaining chip. It may not be always about the money at that point. Like, we got this young quarterback, he hot, we need you to bring him in. You might have to take a little bit less right now, and you might have that guy in like, man, the Bears are going in the right direction. They got this quarterback. And, offensive linemen, bro, they take a lot of pride in protecting their quarterback, and they want to play for a good quarterback. To be able to protect a guy like Justin Fields, who, if he's worthy of that kind of contract at the time, I don't see a lot of guys, especially playing in a city like Chicago. You can make some of that money up off the field.
Look what they did with Baker Mayfield. A Baker Mayfield's out there making money off the side, and they're going to franchise him again. So the plan that we're unfolding by 2023, you're going to start getting the wheels turning. 2024 is when you're competing. That's 2 years on that rookie deal you have left with the 5th-year option to look at this. You've got the 2-year window there, and then you can franchise him the year after. You're going to pay him
for 2 more years if you want. Right.
You can do that for 2 more. So that's literally a 4-year window that we're looking at here to win, building around Justin and that offense. And that's what I want to do.
I'm with you, AB. You sold me. I'm with you.
We got our buddy here, Diab, says, how do you do that when they're all under 26? You can have some of your free agency money and go out and sign cheaper veterans that can come in and help your team grow. You don't necessarily have to have a high-dollar veteran to have the same result. That's just the way I look at things. Sorry, T.
Hey, let me ask you.
That's a true point, though. Good. That's a true point.
But isn't there something to be said, like change of scenery? See, where you mentioned it,
you pay for.
A change of scenery did you good. It kind of revitalized you. We got a bunch of linemen that's like, hey, I'm blocking for somebody and we ain't going nowhere. Hey, look what they got going on in Chicago. I'd be interested in seeing what they got going on. And they got a little bit of bread to spread around. I think that's an incentive that we need to dangle out there. I really do.
It's a Tom Brady / culture effect. Like, wherever Tom Brady goes, he gets a bunch of people with him because he knows he brings culture with. Justin Fields, you can't tell me that Justin Fields can't over time build the same kind of culture here. He's a humble kid. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. He preaches the right messages. He's there for his teammates all the time. People see that. People see what kind of quarterback he is already and are taking notice to him. It's only going to get better the more you build around him.
And a lot of this is going to happen, like I said, in the next couple years. Again, you got if you're going new GM, new head coach, you already got because most teams, they're looking for their franchise quarterback, no matter what the situation is. They drafted up and they have their guy supposedly. Again, we still don't know how this thing is going to pan out because they thought they had it in Trubisky. We'll see what happened with that. We still don't know what's going to happen. But I'm saying that you know, if Justin is the Justin we know he could be within the next 4 years, there's nothing in me that says I'm not going to clear a bunch of cap room to get some studs around him up front. I mean, at that point, we can still run the football. You know, he's going to be so much further along mentally on the field, developing, you know, a rapport with his O-line. And, you know, I think around 4 or 5, you'll be able to see, you know, is he going to be the guy that we drafted him to be? At least at that point, if he's not the guy and you got linemen around him that's protecting, man, that is clear as it comes. We can protect this guy. He's been there 4 or 5 years. Now, guess what? Now you can go get a veteran quarterback that can come play behind a solid offensive line that they've built. Because I've always said that I want to start my team with my offensive line and defensive line. So that's why I'm heavy on that, because I believe that, and no disrespect to no other position, but I do think that you can win or at least be a playoff contending team every year. As long as you're good up front, I think you can go get a B-, C+ player at any other position and be successful. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's a good opinion. And for our buddy Diab, yes, you know what? I'm already watching it. I'm already watching a bottom barrel offensive team play every week. So what's the difference between 3 wins and 6 wins? It's still a putrid offense either way. I'm still watching the same thing. At least this way, I know that I'm building towards a future and a draft to get higher picks, to start building cultures. It's the same
I don't ever want
dance,
to lose
man.
season.
We don't, but see, Dion has to understand.
It's a necessity, man.
But see, that's
but
the
I
thing.
don't ever want one.
I would
never
rather
go
be
into
at
a
the
season
bottom.
saying, okay, fuck it. We just gonna lose.
I would rather
we
be at
can
the
get
bottom
these
of
draft
the
picks
league than in NFL purgatory in the middle, 8-8 or 8 and whatever it is, 7
8
and
9,
whatever
it is now.
Yeah, I would rather be at the bottom of the barrel and build. I'd rather be the Jets than be, you know, the Seahawks right now, because they're in purgatory, even up or something like that. You know, that's not going to get you anywhere, but just middle round picks. And if you hit on them, great, but you have a better shot the worse you are. So why not suck as much as you can next year and build towards the future?
Hey, B,
I know it's a hard concept.
I just want you to keep that same energy next year, hey, B.
I'll be here.
That same energy. Every week, I'm going to be like, hey, B,
I'll be right here, bro.
Shit that they got their ass beat 40-3. Don't say shit.
I'm going to be doing 2 shows. I'm going to do this show and a Bears show, and I'm going to talk about it every week, man.
Hey, B, you say you still got to do your job and talk about what's going on the field, whether you like it or not. That doesn't matter, right?
But see, at least they have a plan, guys. That's.
But listen.
Direction.
I have one issue with what you're saying, because although call it a rebuild or retool, I still want to see that competitiveness from, even if my team goes to like a Dan Campbell right now, like the Lions. I want to see my team fight. I want to see them play hard. I don't want to see them give up, even if it does end up in a losing result. That's where I say I like the fact what you're going with that, AB, about rebuilding from the bottom up. But I still think we can be competitive and show flashes and signs during this process.
So that's
going to happen naturally.
That's if your young guys develop into that. So you're hoping that those young guys take those steps, and then you're competitive because you're young guys. You don't even know what you have unless you do that, and that's why I'm saying put the young guys in a position now to win going forward. And if they do great, that's even better for your organization.
And you got to remember, those young guys, they're hungry. They see them $15, $10 million
they want to taste
bonuses
too.
that they don't have. So it's like they have even more incentive to ball out, because whether they're young or not, bro, they like everybody want to get paid. So it's like
opportunity is right there.
These young hungry guys that ain't got nothing to lose. They don't have no pressure, and they could just go out there and play because they want to ball. But
sometimes that's how you find your stars. I really believe that.
It is.
Hey.
You can find.
I look at it like this. I kind of look at it. I kind of look at it like my first 3 years in the league.
Mm-hmm.
My first year with the Bears, I was a bust. Everybody's like, get rid of him. How did you draft this guy? And quite frankly, to be drafted at the 7th pick, I was a bust. Let's just keep it 100.
Nah.
But, you know, you fast forwarded to 95, and here you talking about me going to the Pro Bowl. And it was all because of one reason, because I wasn't developed as a wide receiver. It wasn't because I couldn't play. It's just right now you draft a guy with the 7th pick, you expecting him to come in and give you 12 touchdowns, 1,500 yards, 80 catches.
Right now.
That wasn't going to be my situation based on the experience I had at wide receiver. So that's kind of how I'm looking at the situation with, guess what? We're going to probably eat these next couple years because we need to develop. But, bro, once we get there, man, we might be in the playoffs for the next 5 or 6 years and to possibly get the Super Bowl. So, and you're going to forget about the 2 years that you suck because it's all about what have you done for me lately in this NFL. So if you balling out in 3 years, what happened 2 years ago at 2 and whatever or 1 and whatever or 3, man, that ain't gonna even matter. They're gonna be worried about, dang, we actually getting it in right now, and that's all people gonna be worried about is what's going on at that moment. So, that's why
one more aspect of that conversation. There is one more aspect of that conversation we got to at least address. Could being a really, really bad football team and playing around really, really bad football players, could that stunt and ultimately ruin Justin Fields' development? Is that a possibility?
But again,
are we concerned about that?
We're
mentality.
And we don't know what's going to happen, but we're sitting here saying because we're going to clean house like the Bears are going to suck and they're not going to win a game. For all we know, they can turn around and win 7 games. They can win 6 games.
Angelo Blackson, Travis Gibson can turn around and become great players. Like
Darnell Mooney is one hell of a player.
Yeah, where did he come from? What round was Mooney?
Mooney was a second round.
5th round pick.
Late 5th round.
Like 5th round pick.
Put up 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah, 81 catches.
It was 5th round out.
Yeah. So again, just because we're cleaning house doesn't mean that this team is just gonna suck. See, that's a mentality.
Yes.
We're gonna clean house because we want to lose and build. Like, no, if these dudes, like you said earlier, AB, you don't know what you really got with these young dudes. Because I know as a vet, it's times, bro, you don't even have to practice, and you still, if you say you can play, and that young guy has been balling in practice all week, but you sitting back and not practicing, then you say you want to play on Sunday, that head coach is going to play that money. He's going to play that veteran guy. And so that other guy never gets a chance to really touch the field, even though he's taking all the reps in practice. Because technically, the reality is most vets don't really have to practice that hard during the week no more. I mean, that's just the name of the
injured list for the
So
Bears.
who's getting, like by mid-season, a lot of these young guys are taking a lot of the reps anyway. They're just not being able to put it on the field because the vet saying, okay, young buck, you did your job during the week. I done healed up a little bit. Let me go out here and get this, and ball out.
Let me go ahead and take this.
You never know about Thomas Graham Jr. If the whole secondary wasn't out versus the Vikings, we never would have known about him. But since he got his opportunity, he made the most of it. And now he could be coming into next year possibly being your slot guy.
At the number 2 corner.
Never would have had the chance.
He could be number 2
on the cheap.
Yeah,
never
either
know.
one.
On the cheap.
Bill door is gone.
That's all I'm saying.
Please. He's gone. Yeah, man.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, we should wrap this up, man, but let's wrap it up with this question.
I know what question.
This question is for both of y'all, Herb and Seaway.
I think we already asked Herb this question, didn't we?
No, this ain't no food question.
Okay.
It's still football related.
Okay.
Will Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy find employment in NFL next season?
What?
Does anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
What the hell is that? Hey, it's if you got friends, they gonna find a job. I don't know if it's gonna be the same positions that they're in, but they'll find something.
Maybe I should rephrase that question. Should they find jobs in NFL next season?
You know what? At the end of the day, they've been around the game so long, man. How many guys do you actually know that get fired and don't find a job in the NFL doing something? Like Nagy may not be an OC, or he could go be a position coach. Bro, I know D linemen that go and become receiver coaches just because they know people.
What?
Yeah.
Bro, that's the NFL. I mean, look at the resume of a lot of these coaches, man. They done coach D-line, receiver, running back. It's not that you can teach a player as an assistant coach. It's do you know the system?
Oh, okay.
So Mark Trestman got a job with the Ravens after the Bears. So if Mark Trestman can go get a job, I think Matt.
Yeah, but Mark Trestman was kind of revered, so that's a loaded question. I'll say this. I actually believe it's the opposite. I think Ryan Pace will get a chance maybe as a head of scouting or director of scouting or something like that.
I think he'd be good at that.
But as far as Nagy, I think he's going to have to sit a year. If he does come back.
Not even a position? He can't go coach tight ends?
Nah, I think
he could go to college
as your quarterback coach.
Huh?
Do you want him as your quarterback coach?
No, I'm just saying somebody like Nagy can easily get a job being a running backs coach or a tight ends coach.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. So he didn't develop a quarterback. And tight ends weren't that good, and he did not give David Montgomery the ball.
Let me explain something to you, and the coaches in the league might disagree with me, but a lot of them ain't developing nobody.
You said that, yeah.
Like, because a lot of them ain't even played the position that they're coaching before. So there's levels to it. Again, no disrespect. I'm just keeping it 100. A lot of coaches, and I ain't gonna say a lot. Let me rephrase that. Some coaches get jobs because they understand the system of whatever side of the ball that they're coaching. So they could literally teach the tight ends what is expected out of you as a tight end. Not so much, okay, I'm a tight end coach and I'm going to develop you to be this guy. That ain't really, to me, that ain't really what NFL assistant coaches do. Now, you do have some, a lot of them get credit for developing or coaching a talented guy and say, oh, he coached this guy. But were you really instrumental in developing this guy, or was he already that guy? You just happened to be the position coach at that time. So again, I see somebody like Nagy can go somewhere because he understands the league. He understands 90% of the playbooks in the league, and it ain't hard for a coach to get a job, to get a playbook and fall right in line and to be able, because that's basically who you are, is you're teaching your room the offense and making sure everything is on point. So again, maybe not head coach, maybe not OC, but I do see, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he's some kind of position coach somewhere in the NFL.
High school.
He said high school. You got to be a head coach in high school, dog.
He said high school.
I think he would really do a good job in high school.
Hopefully Eric Bieniemy gets the look he needs to get.
EB need a look, man.
EB can go, and then Nagy can tuck tail back to Andy Reid.
Yeah, EB need that look, man. They've been playing with him too long, bro. It's time to give him a shot.
I haven't heard one team look at him.
That's so crazy to me, man. You got a young quarter. You got literally one of the best in the league. You helped develop him. You win a Super Bowl. Ain't that really how it happens?
Yeah. And he coached Adrian Peterson
too. Develop, or you win a Super Bowl and then you're in line for a head coaching job.
I think the Giants should be running
Adrian Peterson position coach. Like, you gotta.
You can go get these guys from college. You can go hire college guys who hadn't won, and they can come in and do a job. But you can't hire a guy that's been in this league for God knows how long to give him to at least give him a shot. Something wrong with that picture.
Yeah, that might be another. That might be a whole nother podcast, Seaway.
That's a whole.
Hey, bro, I ain't got nothing but time.
Man,
as you can see, I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, good Lord, I've been hanging out with you guys for
2.5 hours.
Yeah, we just look. It just
we lose time here, man.
Man, it's all good though, bro. I love talking ball, man, and listening to you guys talk, man. Because for me, just to hear guys that hadn't been on that field and to speak when you guys make a lot of sense, man, I love it, man. Like I said, I think people. Because of so much access, man, you can't fool nobody no more, man. You can't sit around and just say anything because the fans and guys are a lot smarter than, I ain't gonna say smarter, but have privy to a lot more knowledge and information than back in the day, man. So, I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all enjoyed having you here. We're gonna talk to Erik Kramer on Friday. You got anything for him?
Nah, man, that's my dude, man. I mean, we still talk every now and then. And, I'm not a big jokester, so I ain't gonna give him no crap about it.
I'll make sure to tell him that you said hi, though.
Yeah, that's my man. That's I love E, man. That's my dude. We still, like I said, we still talk to this day.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool.
Yeah, good dude. I like him.
Yeah. And I gotta say, as somebody that grew up 93, young guy, I was like 10 years old, growing up watching you guys, you and Kramer, man, you guys were the reason that I really started loving the team.
Oh, wow.
I thought that offense was like all the time. I was always all excited about it. I was like, oh my God, we're going to be great on offense for years. And then
he loves that button.
And I woke
he
up.
Loves that.
Hey, man, trust me, I feel it, bro. When we let Jeff Graham go, man, that was a tough one. Then Erik went down during the season. And so, you talking about my two most important partners of crime, out that we, man, we did some great things the year prior. That was tough, man. But that 95 season was special for us, man. We had a good time. So I don't think he missed a damn that whole year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he told us that was the healthiest he had been.
Yeah,
because he was hurting the Lions and stuff. So
yeah.
Matter of fact, he said that's the healthiest he had been since North Carolina State. Remember?
Yeah, it makes sense because he was out there every single play.
Yeah.
Hey, Seaway, anybody ever tell you got a really heavy West Coast accent?
Hey, I'm all West Coast.
Got a real heavy West Coast.
Hey, I'm all West Coast. Hey, I can move anywhere. I'm a LA West Coast. It ain't no up north because the Bay Area they got a whole nother different swag than we got in Southern Cal in LA.
Yeah.
So you in the ATL now? How you going to adjust to that?
Hey, I'm 50 years old, right? I'm an old man. I'm taking kids to school, trying to make sure my wife, she ain't, she's straight. Like, hey, it's pretty conservative right now, man. It's just being daddy, being husband, trying to play a little golf and staying out the way. When you're on the West Coast and you young, you moving and grooving,
I feel you.
Yeah, I'm in the house right now.
Nothing wrong with that.
Smart man.
Well, man, we appreciate it. We appreciate having you on Seaway, man. But we ain't gonna take too much of your time. At least not no more of your time. We've already taken 2 hours and 40 minutes.
You ain't never getting it back either.
Hey, but we would love to have you back, Seaway.
Absolutely. Man, you know what? Honestly, man, anytime, bro. I enjoyed myself, man, listening to you guys talk ball and being a part of it, man. I'm glad we finally connected and we was able to get on. But you guys, you got my email, man. I'm gonna give you my number. That way, that's the easiest way because I don't really do the social media thing too much. I might check it if my wife tell me she sent me something to look at, man. But other than that, best way to catch me is email or text. So I'm gonna shoot you the number that way, man. When you guys want me to come on, we can plan it out like we did this time.
Well, is there any way our fans can reach out to you at all? Any social media platforms you want to promote? Anything you want to promote? You have the floor.
You know what? I'm not really on social media, man. I try to stay out the way for real, man. Like I don't even think I'm gonna do NFL Network this year, man.
Really? You're not gonna come
on?
Oh man!
Oh come on!
You know what? I just I like doing this.
You're good at that.
TV, is you can't really do what we just did, man. Really talk ball. Like you got little segments to speak on certain things, and they come up with the topics. I'm more of a radio podcast type of guy.
Same.
I'm not really a TV guy. I love the work. I love the studying. I love the watching film, especially for the draft stuff. I love all that stuff. It's just once you get on TV, you got such a small window, man, and you really can't dig deep into talk real ball. You know what I mean?
But see, I used to watch you on the Pac-10 network.
Pac-12,
I'm sorry, and it was like, that was how can I say, like you was comfortable or you seemed like real comfortable in it?
Yeah, that was different because it wasn't really one show. Like we would do a pregame show, then we'd come back at halftime and then we'd do a postgame show. That was kind of an all-day thing.
Okay.
But then, you know, I was doing a lot at that time too, man. And, you know, me and my wife, you know, we kind of made a pact before we got married that if, you know, once we had kids, we wasn't going to do the nanny thing. Like we wanted to be present. And we both are really big. We both were really, really busy, especially her. Like, man, she's 100 miles and going, man. You look up her and she doing something. So, you know, when you sit at the table as a team, you got to see what's best for the team, man. And it was, you know, I got to block and not catch the rock. I got to be home and be daddy and kind of make sure the house is straight while she go out there and catch all the touchdowns, man. So, you know, that's another reason too why I'm kind of slowing down, because, you know, that's just, you know, family comes first, man. So sometimes you got to sacrifice some things to make sure the household is straight.
Yes, sir. You're right. Absolutely.
You're always allowed here with us, and we're gonna have some college coverage. Hopefully this whole off season. You're more than welcome to come jump in on that anytime.
Yeah. Well, you guys, like I said, man, you guys just reach out, man. Let me know. You guys got the email. I'm gonna send you my phone. I don't know if you guys have it, but I'll send my number. That way, you guys have it, and you know that way we can basically do what we did. Just lay it out, know when I'm coming on, and we can go from there.
Okay.
Absolutely. And happy birthday, by the way,
everybody.
Happy
early birthday.
I appreciate that, man.
You look great for 28, man.
Hey, trust me, man. I don't feel it, boy. This back, man. This back will give out on me in a minute. Hey, my body will let me know. Yeah, you 50, bro. Slow down. Hey, but I appreciate the birthday, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yes, sir.
And we'll definitely holler at you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Y'all be good.
Hey, see, I gotta tell you before you bounce, man. It's just always a pleasure watching you play the game, man. I think certainly right now, and I can't foresee it ever changing in the future, always top 5 Bears receiver of all time, man. It was a pleasure watching you play, and then sitting and having this conversation with you and getting to see kind of how your brain works and how you think the game, how you talk the game. Super, super dope at it, man. The humility of saying like how instrumental Jeff Graham was to your success as a Bear. I mean, you hear all the shit about wide receivers and divas and selfish and all of this. None of that came from you today, man. You know, acknowledging Jeff Graham for how important he was, but also talking about the importance of the game and where it's really won in the trenches. You don't really often hear receivers like, no, it's really about them big guys up front. I appreciate talking ball with you, man. I appreciate watching you play ball, and talking ball with you has been just as much of a pleasure, man. So salute to you. Nothing but the best in all your future endeavors. Shout out to you and your family, man.
Sure, man. That means a lot, man. I appreciate that, brother.
Well said.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, Curtis.
Y'all brothers be good.
All right.
Thank you. Man, what a great guy. I was surprised about that too, Herb. Whenever he said, like, I was expecting him to go, well, you need to go get a wide receiver. Got to have a playmaker. And he immediately went to the line. I could not believe what I was hearing coming out of his mouth. That's amazing. That's a man that really understands football and the way it's played. And he takes his pride and he pushes it to the side every time.
That's a man.
Yeah, it's understanding how.
No, I was going to say real quick, that's a man that needs to be coaching the team.
Absolutely.
If he wanted to.
Ask them that. Should have asked them that.
We can say that next time, but see, that type of thought process, that ideology, that's what we're looking for. That's the makeup of a coach that is selfless and is a leader of men and is about team.
Yes.
A wide receiver adjusting, talking about the trenches. That's paramount, man.
It's massive.
Give that man some credit, man.
Give him his flowers.
Defense wins games. He wants the defensive coach. That's
wild. That's wild.
Yeah, and that's dope.
Hey, if Curtis Conway wasn't on anybody's coaching radar position, he better be now. I'm telling y'all, world, anybody that's looking at this to know somebody, holler at that brother.
Everybody in Atlanta's on notice right now
because
ATL watch.
If you ask a few of the young wide receivers today, what wins games, they're gonna say,
"Throw me the ball."
Give me the ball. Let me spin. Let me spin.
One of his alma mater brethren had said the same thing. He got a whole book called "Throw Me the Damn Ball." Shoot.
Who is that, JB?
We don't need
Oh,
to
that's
talk
a
about
brother that I'm not too happy with right now, and I put a whole rant out earlier. You can check it out.
I saw that. I had a feeling you were talking about him, JB.
I
That's what I
wanted
thought.
to ask him this question, so I'm asking you, Herb, before we go. Who are you picking on your team first, Jerry Rice or Randy Moss?
Ooh.
It's a phenomenal question. It's a question I've asked myself, like quite often. I've asked myself that question a whole lot. And I've come to the conclusion that I would take Jerry Rice. And it's very, very tough because I think I've always started kind of saying Randy Moss just because of, we talk about him being a one-trick pony. It's a hell of a trick. Like, it's the best trick that you can have, throw that ball 80 yards. It's like Randy Moss speaks for himself. And I think that for me personally, I would like a receiver who can do, more than that, who can go give me the tough catch on 3rd and 7, who can go make a play on 3rd and 9. He can go across the middle. He understands what everybody else is doing. Randy Moss, and this really just speaks to how brilliant he was athletically. He don't even know what everybody else is doing. He doesn't even give a damn. You know what I mean? I'm running this 9, throw me the ball, dude can't cover me, period.
Yep. And
he did it better than anybody else has ever done it. To me, he's definitely the second best receiver. But if you ask me to choose, I would take Jerry Rice, even though it's really, really hard not to say Randy Moss. But I would take Jerry Rice because he does a little bit more for the team as a whole. But Randy Moss, man, listen, if you give me Randy Moss, I'll never, ever complain. Like, not even about not having Jerry Rice.
It depends on who's quarterbacking. Depends on the quarterback.
It depends. That's what I was gonna say. It depends on the quarterback because Jerry Rice can play with any quarterback.
Yeah.
Randy Moss can't, because if I don't have the arm strength to throw that 70-yard pass, Randy Moss is just he's doing track practice right now. That's all he's doing is running.
Randy Moss is a beast. That's why I like Julio Jones, man. I heard Larry Fitzgerald say that Julio Jones is the best he's ever seen. You gotta understand that Larry Fitzgerald, not only is he one of the best who's ever done it, but he's seen everybody else do it. He grew up literally around that Vikings team. Yeah, he grew up around that Vikings team with Randy Moss, with Chris Carter. So if Larry Fitzgerald says that Julio Jones is the best he's ever seen, that's good enough for me because Julio Jones has the physical capabilities of a Randy Moss. He can stretch the field like that, but he also does all the other stuff that we talked about with a guy like a Jerry Rice. So any of those guys, man, you talk about Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, sign me up for any of those guys.
Yeah.
Okay. AB, in 20 seconds, who you got? Jerry Rice?
Who's my quarterback? Moss? Who's my quarterback, T?
Take your pick.
My quarterback's Tom Brady. I'm going with Randy Moss all day.
Okay, why?
They had literally the best duo of all time and should have won a Super Bowl that year, and they didn't. They had the best year that they've ever had together, and hardly anyone else has come close to that. Tom Brady would bring out the best in a Randy Moss. He would do all those things that Herb's saying, go in the middle. He would do anything Tom Brady told him to do because he knew at the end of the day he would help him win a ring. If I'm going one season or even one game, I'm going Tom Brady and Randy Moss. If it ain't him, then I'm going Jerry Rice.
JB, 20 seconds or less. Who you got?
I'm taking Jerry Rice for what I said earlier. I can plug Trent Dilfer in there and win with Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
I can put Dan Orlovsky in there and win with Jerry Rice.
Whoa.
Hey, no, whoa, he can't.
He's going to run out of the back of the end zone. He can't even throw the ball to him.
You can't throw that far. But I'll tell you what.
Damn, why are you doing Dan Orlovsky like that?
Because
he does everyone else like that.
He's telling the truth, but remember,
that's
a lot
the power
of people
of
don't know this.
Man.
A lot of people don't know this, but all the statistics that Jerry Rice amassed with Joe Montana never threw for 4,000 yards. Anybody bet Bueller? $100? Anybody? $100?
All right. With that,
not against you.
With that, let's go into some shout outs real quick and get the hell out of here because we've been on here for 3 hours.
Yep. And we always say we're not going to be.
Right. You want to kick it off?
It's been good, though.
Yeah, it is.
Do I want to kick it off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll kick it off, man. First and foremost, shout out to y'all. I appreciate it, man. It's the second time y'all had me on. It's been an absolute Pleasure to hang out with you brothers, man, and talk Bears with y'all. Y'all know the game. Y'all know the Bears. Absolute honor and a pleasure to hang out with y'all, man. Shout out to y'all, the community that y'all have built, the followers that y'all have. Know the game. That's evident in the comments. It's evident in the things they got to say, man. So shout out to y'all for building such a platform. I appreciate y'all for having me on. I also want to say shout out to the Bigs Media, man. Shout out to Terrence Tomlin. Shout out to Eugene McIntosh for bringing me onto that team. It's a phenomenal team. It's my absolute pleasure to work with those guys and having covered the Bears. It's been a dream come true for me. This was my first year, getting my first year under my belt. Learned a lot. Shout out to people like Jason Leisure, like Patrick Finley, who taught me a lot about being on that beat and what it's like to be in that room. I didn't come into it expecting to like make friends or anything like that. And some people did give you the cold shoulder. You come in as a young dude, especially a young black dude in a room full of mostly middle-aged white men. A lot of people like, who is this dude? And, but some people were very receptive and welcoming and appreciative of the way I went about my business and how I did my job. And they make that known. And so I do want to give a shout out to some of those guys. Like I said, the Jason Legions of the world. And last but not least, man, we talked about at the very top of the show, I don't remember who said it, but one of y'all referenced the search committee that the Bears put together, talking about Bill Polian and also the fact that they would be bringing in two other people. One of those people is Soup Campbell. And I got to give a shout out to Soup Campbell, man. The fact that Soup Campbell is on that search committee is one of the only reasons that gives me confidence they may actually find the right people to do this. Soup Campbell is a really, really bright dude, but he's also very thoughtful, very thorough, and him being on that search committee, if he does have any real influence and say so, I think that is going to be beneficial for the Bears in that process. So shout out to Soup. He's a guy I knew before I got in this position and had nothing to do with me getting into the position, but he's just shown none but love. So shout out to Soup, man. I wish him the best in that process. But again, most importantly, shout out to y'all, man. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Appreciate it.
I'm gonna go short and sweet this time. Normally I ramble. Herb, shout out to you, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you, brother. I would love Reggie Radcliffe and Randall Radcliffe said to tell you hi, by the way. Last time we
What up?
Yeah, some Pete from the old days. Also, when that draft come on, Herb, hopefully we could do some collaborations and get some things moving. Hey guys, shout out to Seaway, Curtis Conway, C Squared, whatever you want to call him. I call him great. One of my favorite Bears receivers of all time. Like I said, he won me many of video game trophies and championships. I love that guy. And just his insight, his energy, his love, his willingness to stay on with a couple of average Joes just talking sports, man, kicking it. Hey, brother got a place in my heart forever. I was a fan of his. Now we can say we're friends. Shout out to Curtis Conway. And again, shout out to everybody that supported us in the chat. AB, that's your thing, so I'll let you go with that. Shout out to Moms. I saw Moms checking in a couple of times. Curtis Clay, Dark Spectre, my man PG Tone, who I hooped with. A lot of guys came out the woodwork for this one. It was really good. Shout out to my all-star team because every Tuesday I look forward to this.
Same.
That's all I got.
I don't think I could say much better, JB. I got to start first and foremost by saying one of my first loves was a Curtis Conway growing up. A young man watching the Bears. I was 2 whenever 85 came, so I didn't get to really appreciate that. So the late 80s, early 90s was when I started really to follow them more. And Curtis Conway was a guy that I looked up to and I thought was one of the best wide receivers to do it in a Bears uniform of all time, bar none. Thank you for coming on. Humble, one of the most humble people we've ever had on here. Completely selfless, always speaking about others, never really wanting to even talk about himself as much. Amazing human being, guys. If you want to model after somebody, that's a human being to model after, period, first and foremost. Secondly, Herb, you were kind of on me about changing your mind. You just changed my mind about Soup Campbell. Because if you buy into Soup, then I'm buying into Soup. I didn't have anything against Soup. I just didn't know the man personally. I just knew the position and didn't know if that was the right, avenue for what they're looking for. If you buy into him, then I'm buying into him. So thank you,
Soup is the
Herb.
goods, man. I'll put the house on. I'll put the house on Soup, man.
Okay.
Soup is the goods.
Then if you say it, then I'm buying it all day, Herb. And I
Dang.
completely retract my statement at the beginning about Soup. The other girl, I don't know her. I just know she was in events and entertainment. And I'm like, I don't know if events and entertainment's really something we need to look at. The role
Isn't she equity and diversity now?
They just created this role for her, yes, which I 100% buy into that. They need that role. Every team needs that role. It's 100% needed in the league. But I was just more skeptical about her because of the events and entertainment title that she had before that. So thank you for easing my mind about at least one of the two candidates, Herb. And Herb, thank you for coming in, man, because we always have a good time with you. Great guy. You have literally my dream job, and I look up to you as somebody just doing this.
Mine too, brother.
Seeing
Mine
what
too,
you
brother.
do, bro, it blows my mind and gives me hope that one day we can hit our dream of making this real for everyone, man. So thank you for giving me a reason to keep going, knowing that us regular guys can really start making an impact in the sports world. Because that's something that isn't talked about a lot. It's always, you got to have this degree or that degree or this or that or whatever. Or you have to be from this regime. You got to be a middle-aged white guy, just like you said. Anyone can do anything when you put your mind to it. And thank you for believing that and, making me believe that. So thank you, man. And
it's
our
us,
fans.
man. The big tagline is I didn't mean to cut you off while you was giving your shout. I'm
No.
But the big tagline is it's us, right? It's us, and that's just the real. Like it's I saw Candace put that in the comment in the chat a minute ago. Like it's us, like that. We really just believe that. It's about us. It's about the people. It's about regular guys like us who love the game, who know the game, who talk about the game all the time. Just having the opportunity to have some of that access. And for me, just a regular dude from the South Side of Chicago who's watched the Bears since I could see, to be able to be at Hallett's Hall every day, to be at all those press conferences, to be at all of those games, it's an absolute dream come true. And I truly do take all of us regular guys with me at all of those times. So whether we in Soldier Field or somewhere around the country, I feel that energy, and I feel like it's my duty to kind of represent for us, man. So thank you again for having me. It's my pleasure, and it's us, man, for sure.
The thank is all ours, and thank you again. And our fans, man, I can't even say it. I could not. They were going crazy. I thought Diop and Bullets were gonna kill each other in the chat. They were We had people fighting in the chat. We were having great conversations. This is what it's about. It's about this kind of topics. It's about bringing your passion out forward for everyone to see, man. And we can't do it without you guys. So thank you all again from the bottom of our hearts. We couldn't do it without you. Let's keep this rolling all 2022. I'm excited for it. T, you have the floor, my friend.
Man, AB, I swear to God, sometimes when you talking, it seems like you're about to cry.
because
I swear,
I just
like
feel away, bro. Like
it's
I'm not
okay.
like this isn't an act for me. Like I'm not just doing this for my health. Like I've always wanted to do this kind of stuff. I've been listening to sports since I was a kid. I've been listening to radio, sports radio for 20, 30 years. Like this is my passion and it's what I love. And that's why I'm here, man. I'm not trying to sound pouty or like I'm a cry, but that's just, it's just how I feel about it, man.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, keep that energy, bro.
Passion.
Keep that energy, man. Big shout out to Seaway. Mr. Curtis, I called him, but he said, "Don't call me that, man. Don't call me Mr. Curtis, because
tell you not to do that right before show." Yeah,
there's the show actually. I forgot the name of it, but the main character is Mr. Curtis, and Mr. Curtis wears all these wild clothes and shit. So he said, "Nah, don't call me that, man. Don't call me Mr. Curtis." So shout out to Seaway. He was real insightful. And like Herb was saying earlier, super selfless, and he thinks about everybody that got him to where he was, instead of saying, well, me, and I did this and I did that, and the team revolves around me. Give me the damn ball. Nah, he didn't say that. He talked about defense. He didn't even play defense, but he talked about how defense wins games.
Yeah.
And that the Bears should get a defensive coach, which I kind of agree with, but that's another podcast. But yeah, big shout out to him. Big shout out to Herb. Clutch Herb.
Again, Herb, boy.
Super insightful.
I appreciate y'all.
H2.
Definitely
appreciate y'all so much.
Definitely as the best questions in the press conference. So
he might not get the best answer, but
that
he had a good question.
Definitely not. Definitely not. But that question to Andy Dalton, that was classic. That was classic.
I think the only one
you had him stuck.
I think the only one I liked more than that was the Olin Cruz question. And because that one just went off the handles, man. That one went off the handles.
Left, didn't it?
It went completely left. He went in the ditch and burned on that one, man. Woo.
And then this question to George McCaskey, he put on skates and skated around that shit.
Oh, he did.
Real good, man. But
Word
yeah,
salad.
Definitely shout out to Herb, man.
Yeah.
Herb always comes through.
That. I
Plus
appreciate
Herb. And we
Anytime.
appreciate you, man. We appreciate you. Shout out to the Bigs Media.
Yes.
Terrence Tomlin and Eugene McIntosh.
My boy Gene.
Shout out to them. We need to have Gene back on, man. He was on that Marcus Liberty episode. That was a while ago. Well,
that was a long time ago.
I never got to meet him.
Because Gene hooped at Mount Carmel.
Yeah, you hooped at
Carmel. Baseball. Gene was a real big baseball dude, like a real top prospect. Like Gene he's a real big baseball dude.
Well, we're definitely gonna get into basketball and baseball coming up.
We are.
So Gene,
the Bulls beat the hell out of the Pistons, by the way. Just so
what's that?
Knows. Said the Bulls beat the hell out of the Pistons.
I
like
mean,
130 to like
we all expected that, didn't we?
Oh yeah,
we all expected that.
But tomorrow the game got flexed. Nets and Bulls tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be there.
ESPN.
Are you going to?
Yeah,
man,
that's what's up.
I'll be there. I'll
always
be at
get to go to these.
I'm gonna go live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Better.
KD, James Harden, and Kyrie. Woo.
I don't think Harden's playing. Harden was out last night. I know he was out last night. I don't know if he's out again, but last I checked, he was.
If that's a national game, what's that going to be on ESPN Wednesday night?
Yep.
Gino or Terrence are going to be there. I'll try to get y'all on tune so y'all can link up while y'all there. One of them will be there. One of them be there covering the Bulls.
There you go.
Tomlin.
Terrence or Eugene will be there for sure covering the Bulls tomorrow.
Okay.
So.
Okay, well, yeah, that would be great, man. If you could hook me up with one of them, that would be awesome.
Hell yeah, it would.
It would.
If you ever need a fill-in, just call. We can show up for you, bud. Don't, you ever need a break from House Hall, we're always available for you too.
I'm so glad that season's over. I ain't gonna even lie to y'all, man. As much fun as it has been, as much as I've appreciated, as much as it is a dream job, by the time it became apparent that this season was going nowhere, it became real monotonous. They all had an attitude, players, coaches, they all feeling the way. It became real monotonous. So by the time they shut down Hollis Hall like 2 or 3 weeks ago because of COVID, we didn't have to go back up there. Everything was all Zoom. Yeah. I was like, okay, I ain't mad. That's fine.
Yeah, it was painful, man. It was painful. Very. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. The chat was on fire.
Man,
it's crazy.
Like AB was saying, people was ready to fight in the chat.
Love it.
All kinds of arguments and shit. I cook better than you. All kinds of shit. So that's fun, man. We have a lot of loyal watchers.
Yeah, we do.
And, they think they know everything too. But they don't know shit.
But we don't know shit.
We don't know shit either, though. So it works out. It works out perfectly. But we appreciate everybody in the chat. Everybody in the chat that didn't say shit, you are officially a lurker.
Lurkers.
But we appreciate y'all too.
Terrence and his lurkers, man.
And last but not least, I appreciate the All-Star team. AB, JB, wouldn't be no show without y'all, man, because don't nobody want to listen to me for no 2 hours. Don't nobody want to listen to that.
But they'll listen to you for 3.
Even though we say we're only going 2.
They listen to y'all. Shit. But shout out to the special All-Star team member, Herb.
Yes.
Man, it wouldn't have been as great of a show without you, man. It wouldn't have. So,
Stop it.
Again, we definitely appreciate you.
My pleasure, true.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chris Edgerton. Shout out to Chris Edgerton.
Our guy.
Foul Mouth C.
Foul Mouth C. He is going to be the new part-time host. I don't know if you all saw the other day at the brunch brunch as fuck that none of y'all came to at Tilly's Pit and Pub. Tilly's Pit and Pub, shameless plug. But at that brunch, I announced that I am stepping down as the full-time host of the CCP. I have some other things that I need to tend to. But Chris Edgerton is going to be the new part-time host. Don't cry. Don't cry. I'm still gonna be here sometimes.
Now
I'm still gonna be here sometimes, and I have certain segments. So I'm not gone. I'm just not gonna be here as much. So I won't be running my mouth as much and cracking stale ass jokes.
Oh no!
With the pinky up.
Right. Drink it with the pinky up. Hey, but you can't talk though, because you take lavender bubble bath.
I just wanted you to say it one more time.
You can't talk. You sprinkle lavender in the tub and take bubble
wrong with
bath.
Having a nice, hot, relaxing
and wrap your hair with the towel and shit.
Herb,
you can't talk, man.
You see what I got to deal with this cat? He just
I see, man. Listen,
he just makes shit up as he goes, man. That's what he does.
I was having the same conversation on my podcast. It had nothing to do with sports, but I got a podcast called I Said What I Said. And me and my co-host, I was just talking about him about like running late and how I can't deviate from my shower routine even if I'm running late. He's like, shower routine? You got a shower routine? I'm like, yeah, everybody got a shower routine.
Yes, you got a routine?
Yes.
Yeah, you got a shower routine. Of course there's a shower routine.
That,
of course there is.
What the fuck is routine though?
Listen, whether you know it or not, T, you got a shower routine too. When you get in the shower, I guarantee you do.
See what you did to my mom, T?
Get out.
You see what you did to my mom,
the same
T?
arm first, the same leg first. You do. It's a routine.
Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. I appreciate
it. CJ, you ain't wrong. Me and Terrence are gonna fight about this till we're dead.
Forever, man.
Forever, ever.
Yo, big grown 6-foot ass taking lavender bubble baths, man.
You wine cooler drinking ass pinky up.
That's all right there. At least it's the red kind.
It's the red.
Hey, this
not
is
lavender.
Hey, Herb, you see what I got to deal with?
I see, JB.
JB's
You like the referee of the whole
thing,
man.
So anyway, that is it for my shout outs.
Hey, you better shout out Tilly's for that awesome brunch, man.
Oh yeah, Tilly's for that awesome ass brunch AF. That doesn't mean brunch as fuck. That means brunch after the fact. Holiday brunch after the fact. Yeah. Actually, it was a decent brunch. We had a decent turnout. A lot of people are still spooked from COVID, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm not gonna shame anybody from that. If you still spooked from COVID, that's cool. But I'm outside. Fuck that. I'm outside. So with that being said, man, we done here. I'm about to go pour something else in my cup. And this was a great podcast.
Oh, he back with the. You know what?
I don't ever give up my peach crown.
Ooh,
What you got,
Herb over there? Okay,
classy.
Herb with the Deuce. I see you.
Jesus,
love it, bro. Well,
it's just a Tuesday, dog.
He's got that big money job. I mean,
stop it.
Working up there with the Bears, he can afford that shit. Hell yeah.
Stop it. You know they pay people $15 an hour. Listen to Ola Cruz when he talks.
Hey Herb, I gotta get a shirt, man. I gotta get a shirt.
Say less.
I'm rolling with Ola.
Hell yes. Love it.
Okay, so next week, who's on next week? I don't even remember.
You tell me.
Shit, I don't remember. Let me see.
Irvin Smalls.
Irvin Smalls.
Irvin Small.
Yeah.
Now, for a lot of people that don't know who Irvin Small is, he played at U of I. He was essential to that Flying the Illini team.
Yes, sir.
He was like Dennis Rodman.
I'm
did
excited.
The dirty work.
One. I'm an Illini guy, so this is all me.
So we are going to talk to him. AB is going to calm his ass down.
I'm gonna try.
But we go talk to him next week.
I might fangirl on this one.
And then the week after that, I don't know, but we don't need to talk about the week after that. Okay, well, I think we're done here. So I'm gonna say
it.
Bye. Oh. I'm gonna let the video say it. Go ahead, AB.
No, hit my button, AB. Hit my button.
Oh.
The video say it, so I'm not gonna say it. The video gonna say it.
Killing me, Smalls. All right. You got mother.
We out.
Later.
We out.
That's it.
Yeah, we done here. We out. Okay, so we out.
If you're not watching this, flag on you.
This has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production. We out.